What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 8s Chapter 159 Wano Country, Cooking Momonosuke. Why is this? Momonosuke was also shocked by the scene in front of him. Unexpectedly, the people of Wano Country hated the Kazuki family so much. Why are you angry? Aren't you inciting the people? Zoro twitched his mouth and looked at the veins on Tyr's face with confusion. You don't understand, damn, that beast. Zoro shook his head, feeling that the difference in temperament between him and Tyr when they first met was too great. Now, it's more like he's taking a vacation for himself, without worrying about anything. It also gives people a very cheap feeling. Soon, Tyr climbed on top of the ramen stall, waving his fists and continuing to inflame the national mood. So, what should we do? I make the decision for you, don't be afraid of anything. Kill him. Kill his son. Pluck all the hair off Momonosuke's body. Not enough. That's too cheap for him. Whole. Who are you? The warrior yelled at Tyr for a moment, and the citizens who were incited by Tyr instantly overwhelmed him. Punches and kicks. Cook him alive. Eat his flesh and sleep on his skin. Then, Tyr was very satisfied with this, grinned and said to the citizens of Wano. Prepare the pot. Remember to get all the ingredients. We will make his life worse than death and let the Kazuki clan know the consequences of snatching someone's wife. The general's mansion in the capital of flowers. Kurozumi is holding the Oran of Wano, Kazuki Hiyori. That is, the daughter of Kazuki Oden and the sister of Momonosuke. What happened? All the citizens suddenly gathered in one place. Kill Momonosuke. The moment Tyr's voice reached Kazuki Hiyori's ears from the city. Kill him. Kill him. The loud voices of the citizens also followed Tyr's words and shouted together. They are all angry people towards the Kazuki family. This made her expression become extremely ugly in an instant as she leaned in Kurozumi's arms. Momonosuke. Quangshilong also trembled, but he knew that Momonosuke was Oden's son. As one of the 9 heroes of the Red Sky, he has been lurking beside Kazuki Hiyori to protect her for more than 20 years. Advertisement. Is this the news you are waiting for now? Huh? Kiyoshiro, does Momonosuke seem to be Kazuki Oden's son? Could it be? Is that prophecy really going to come true? It seems. That's the case. Quangshilang's words were trembling, but he quickly calmed down and said. But, General Orochi, don't you care who is so impudent in broad daylight? That's right. How dare you incite people like this in my territory? Shogun-sama, Kazuki Hiyori put on an extremely weak look and instantly attracted the soul of the big snake and said. Don't you want to kill Momonosuke with your own hands? If the following news is true, then Momosuke will be killed, and you will never have a chance again. Yes. Kurozumi was furious. I must personally end the legend of the coming of the 9 heroes of the Red Sky. As ordered, I will go and help the general to solve his problems. Quangshilong immediately led his troops to where Tyr was, ostensibly wanting to do something for the big snake. Secretly, he wants to protect the last hope of Wano Country, which is Momonosuke, the sole heir of Kazuki Oden. So sharp. As expected of the second-generation Kitetsu, Zoro uses the second-generation Kitetsu to slash people, and can easily cut into pieces of human bones flawlessly without even using haki. Cook him. Cook him. Help. Have you all forgotten the kindness your father has shown to you? Tui. What kind of favor? He took my wife away and used it as his own toy. Is that called a favor? Every time Momonosuke spoke, he was retaliated by countless people who had been harmed by Oden, and all kinds of things were thrown at him. There are rumors outside the sea that Kazuki Oden is his highness who is loved by the country of Wano, but the real inside story is like the scene in front of Tyr. Everyone scorned him. The emotions became more and more serious, and the people of Wano Country's venting against Oden reached its climax. The news that Momonosuke was publicly executed by the people caused all the people who had previously been loyal to Oden to take action. Hey, this is my ramen cart, don't use it as your podium. Teal was angrily scolded by his boss, who put his hand into his pocket and took out 1,000,000 Baileys and threw it on his head. Whoosh! Taylor closed his eyes and twisted his mouth, forcing himself to resist the urge to laugh. A swift orthopedic figure in the crowd quickly rushed towards Momonosuke. Oh! Kill Momonosuke. Seeing being blocked, Tyr was a little unhappy. Advertisement, crazy death man. Any hesitation for even a second is disrespectful to the 1,000,000 Baileys. The big boiling oil pot finally took on a boiling appearance thanks to the efforts of the people who kept adding firewood to heat it up. What's going on? Is it so lively? Quangshilong said with a fake smile, narrowing his eyes. Want to save people? Haha. Taylor instantly drew his sword and swung it. What's wrong? How to cook him, please, this unknown samurai. The ramen boss was stunned and fell into deep thought while holding so many Baileys. This was beyond his expectation. The general wants this man, but he won't allow any of you to hurt him. At the critical moment, Kwang Shilong swung out a sword energy and struck him with a slash, seriously injuring him and knocking him to the ground. Aiming at the rope on Comfort Peach assistant, he lightly snapped his fingers. Taylor jumped off the top of the ramen stall and looked at him with disapproval. A sharp breath instantly cut the rope, and Momonosuke fell into the frying pan. The nation sought Teal's advice. At this time, the most prestigious and cruel gangster in the country of Wano came with instructions from Orochi. Momonosuke, who fell in the middle of the frying pan, was definitely me. Ah, I also feel how powerful this guy is. Zoro looked serious, holding 2 knives in his hands, and was inexplicably excited about the arrival of Kwangshilong. The citizens were extremely afraid of him and forked a way out. The Kwangshilong family has arrived. The moment he saw Momonosuke's appearance, he confirmed his suspicion. He kept kicking his legs and tried to struggle, but to no avail. Then, he immediately joined the angry crowd and became a member of the crowd. Although he had disappeared for 20 years, Momonosuke still appeared in front of him in this childlike form, but what he was sure of was this. Zoro, the target of your training has arrived. If you defeat him, your strength will rise to the next level. Cut it off. A citizen took the initiative to hold a knife and prepared to cut off Momonosuke's crime tool. Let's cut that thing up for him. Destroy his crime tool first. Is this a woman? No, it's AS asterisk 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 E. No, don't do it. Momonosuke was tied above the cauldron and hung in the air with a rope. He originally thought that taking Momonosuke to the streets publicly would make him the enemy of all citizens of Wano country, but now it seems that he has overthought it. Chapter 160 Wano country. Zoro's Kwangshilong Kikunoshi was shocked by Tyr's strength in drawing the sword, and had to put down his rescue of Momonosuke, and instantly pulled out the blade from his waist to resist. Damn it! Momonosuke-sama! Momonosuke, who fell into the hot oil pan, instantly screamed in extreme pain. Ah! Help! Help! First-generation Kidetsu's sharpness, with Tai's swing, shattered the famous sword in Kakunokori's hand with just one strike. Let him fly into the sky outside the Flower City. Kwangshilong saw Momonosuke fall into the oil pan and the veins on his forehead exploded. Without saying a word, he rushed directly to the oil pan and slashed out with one strike. Ding! Zoro appeared in front of him with a fighting spirit and intercepted him. This road is closed, samurai. Step aside. Momonosuke, who fell into the oil pan for a few seconds, soon lost his life. In addition to Kusushiro, Kikunoshi and others, the citizens of Wano who had a grudge against Kazuki's family flocked to him and regarded him as a way to vent their anger on Kazuki Oden. Being eaten by the citizens of Wano. In this world. Tyr suddenly looked at the cannibal scene in front of him with a cold expression. What can happen? Two-blade-style eagle wave. Boom. Some of the crowd was knocked back by the powerful battle impact. Zoro struck with 2 swords and was able to repel Kwangshilong with some difficulty. Seeing his master's son reduced to such a fate, Kuroshiro had to accept the fact that Momonosuke died. His faith was shattered, and his extremely grief-stricken brain made him completely forget about his previous self, and fight for the things in front of him wholeheartedly. Who are you? Zoro held the sword in both hands, jumped back and asked, such a powerful swordsmanship. This is the general's dog. Kwangshilong put the blade in front of his face and looked at Zoro with narrowed eyes and a smile on his face. I was ordered to arrest Momonosuke, but you dare to disobey me. It's too cruel. Tyr covered his face, blocking the smile on his face and muttered. Even if this beast dies 10,000 times, it won't be enough for Wano to vent its anger on Oden. Bite his bones. Increasingly inciting national sentiment, the Wano citizens who hated Kazuki Oden went crazy and ate everything in the frying pan within a short time. The citizens should run away. After they vented their anger, they did not want to be involved in Kwangshilang's battle. Tyr walked to the pot and was speechless, looking at the bottom of the pot with no bones left inside. Advertisement: strength is always the basis for establishing a foothold in this world, and any truth is based on strength. What's scary about Kazuki Oden is his strength. What does Momonosuke have? Nothing. Later, Tyr sat cross-legged and watched the fierce battle between Zoro and Kwangshilong. Now Zoro has mastered the second stage of armament color and is running towards the high-level Haki Ryu Sakura. This battle will become the focus of his growth. 2 cuts. Climb the stairs. Zoro's 2 swords wrapped around his domineering force and slashed upwards. The sword energy that tore through the air rushed out from Zoro's hands. Sparks rubbed against Kwangshilang's blade, knocking him into the air. You should go upstairs. Kwangshilong was shocked by the power of Zoro's slashing. Before he could stabilize his body, Zoro instantly appeared above him and slashed with all his strength with both swords. He raised his knife to block. There was no support under his feet, causing him to be instantly shot down from the air to the ground, creating a large amount of smoke. His eyes quickly scanned around him, and he immediately saw Zoro's sword energy approaching his face. Sand pattern. Seeing that Zoro has such strength, Kwangshilong no longer has any reservations. Ryu Sakura's domineering power instantly wrapped around the katana in his hand, and he clenched the blade with both hands and slashed at Zoro. The katana broke through Zoro's sword and was close to Zoro in an instant. This guy is so strong, Zoro sighed and waved both blades in his hands. The blades collided, and the muscles in Zoro's arms swelled, feeling the pressure brought by Quang Shilang's domineering power. I'm the general's dog. I help the general solve his problems, haha. Quang Shilang smiled arrogantly and his arm shook violently. The power transmitted to the blade instantly caused the ground beneath Zoro's feet to crack. Ahem. Zoro gritted his teeth and resisted stubbornly, his body sinking. For him, this kind of battle was something he could only dream of. It was different from being simply crushed by Tyr in a sparring match. This is fighting, Zoro shouted. The second-generation ghost and the third-generation ghost suddenly burst out with terrifying force in his hands, knocking Kwangshiru back more than 10 meters with one blow. With high morale, he pulled out the Hedao Yuan from his waist, bit it in his mouth, and then threw the autumn water to Tyr. General Marine is a symbol of disaster in Wano. How could he be a young guy like you? 720 troubled winds. Catching the autumn water, Tyr immediately put it in his belt and inserted it. Onitsuru, I didn't expect that you would have 2 swords made with Wano country craftsmanship. Kwangshiro said as he looked at Zoro, and suddenly noticed Tyr behind him. Advertisement: such a strong opponent made Zoro feel excited physically and mentally. Bang. Mito Stream. Marine. Admiral. Hole. Marine, where did you get Kyushui from? Zoro suddenly waved his hands towards Kwangsilong, and a purple, demonic flying slash cut through the air and went straight to Kwangsilong. The ground shattered, and Zoro stepped towards Kwangsilong. He's Marine. Kwangsilong tightened the handle of the knife, not afraid of Zoro's terrifying power of domineering slashing moves. Yellow-mouthed kid. Boom. Tyr shook first-generation ghost on his shoulders and responded calmly. The national treasure of Wano, Ryoma's saber Shisui. Ahem. My strength has increased again. You are fighting with 3 knives. Are you juggling? Juggling? You'll find out for yourself. Teal, I have decided, he said firmly to Tyr, I must master Gute. This kind of blade suits me very well. You're the Marine who landed in the north. Feeling the aura on Tyr's body, Kwangshi Lang's pupils dilated and he suddenly thought of something. Decided to use his strength to show Kwangshi Lang his 3-sword style. The blade in his hand was covered with Liu Ying's haki, and he slashed at Zoro with all his strength. Ghost Slayer. That's right, enter Marine General Sword God Tyr. He waved his arm guard and deflected Zoro's 2-sword flying slash with one strike. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, carrying the first-generation ghost felt a chill in his heart. Of course Ryoma gave it to me himself. The powerful domineering power in the eastern forest just now was released by this guy. Zoro's swordsmanship was insulted by a samurai, but he did not show any anger, and both corners of his mouth raised. However, Marine allowed us to take revenge for so many years. Marine is different from overseas rumors. After saying that, Zoro went all out and charged up, igniting the domineering power he had learned in Tyr this year. The 2 blades collided, and a domineering impact spread to the surroundings, destroying some houses near this street. Chapter 161 Wano Country, Injuring the White-Bearded King. I don't have time to waste with you. If you disobey the general's order, you must all be arrested, Kwangshilong said to Zoro. Impossible. Zoro responded directly to him, the man behind me is not someone you can win. As a warrior of Wano country, Kwangshiru naturally knew. Seeing his battle with Zoro, Tyr, who was still calm and composed, was very strong. I don't want your food, Zoro, Tyr said calmly, don't you want a hearty battle? Haha, that's right, Zoro responded to Tyr with a smile. Immediately, he flicked off the Kwangshilang's blade with both arms and engaged in a fierce fight with him. Aim. Shoot. The warriors brought by Kwangshilang stood in a line and fired a volley at Tyr. The moment the bullet was fired, Tyr appeared in front of them and slashed out with lightning speed. Bang. The sword energy explosion exploded in front of the warriors, defeating them all in one move. Such swift shadow-like movements and powerful slashes caused the sweat on Kwangshilang's forehead to flow out uncontrollably. I'm going to go play with that ******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* street where Kakunakori was knocked away by him before. Oh, this guy is definitely no match for me. Seeing Zoro's high fighting spirit, Tyr was naturally not worried. On the balcony of the shogun's residence, Kazuki Hiyori, the courtesan of Wano country, collapsed on the ground with no strength. The binoculars fell out of her hands and fell into the street below. The cruel reality and the belief that she had persisted for 20 years, the moment Momonosuke was eaten by the people, everything in her heart collapsed. My feelings are the same as yours, Shaozi. Kurozumi came to her and tried to comfort her. That guy. Bringing troops to attack us is unheard of. It seems we must contact Kaido. Brother. Why? Kurozumi took out the phone number used to contact Kaido and dialed. Hey, Kaido. Has the Flower City fallen? Orochi? There's a lot of movement over there, Gugu. The sound of a happy party came from Kaido's phone. Mom, keep drinking, Kaido. This is Big Mom's laughter. Kurozumi was shocked inside. No, but the guy you are talking about is causing trouble in the Flower City. Can you support me, Kaido? No, I am gathering forces and cannot send troops to help you deal with Marine. Advertisement. Kaido directly hung up the call from Kurozumi Orochi, with 300,000 Marine troops. He was unable to take the initiative and wipe out the army brought by Tyr to attack him. However, if Orochi falls, it will be very detrimental to the Wano region he controls. Onigashima Central Event Meeting. Countless Kaido officials and Big Mom officials were holding a huge banquet inside. Marine hasn't taken root in the north yet. Mr. Kaido, are we really not going to attack? The man sitting next to Kaido, dressed in black leather and looking like a killing machine, asked. Jin, the Revolutionary Army, Garp, even the red-haired Shanks was defeated by him a year ago. It would be irrational to take the initiative. But, we, the Beast Pirates, are not cowards. That guy hasn't taken action yet. He doesn't pose much of a threat to us for the time being. We'll try our best to arrange combat weapons and battle plans these days. Ghost Island will soon become a huge battlefield that will shock the whole world. Analysis. Marine's intelligence has been obtained, and the combat power that can be determined is being allocated to corresponding cadres to fight. It is impossible for Kaido to give up Wano's huge military business. Report. Lord Kaido. The spy hurriedly ran out of the banquet and knelt in front of Kaido. What's wrong? Kaido was agitated and subconsciously pinched the mace beside him. Loki, king of Elbaf, has sent out troops. What? Big Mom and Kaido were so shocked that they stopped eating food. So, where is that brat Shanks? Here he comes too. Elbaf has dispatched a large number of troops, as if he wants to wash away his shame. Nearly 7 meters tall, with a tall and domineering figure, his body is full of animal-like strength, and he has the sharp horns of the ghost tribe on his head. This news gave Kaido a glimmer of hope. Mom, in this way, Kaido. We can use this opportunity to completely rule the new world. That brat Shanks will never ally with us. At the originally joyful banquet, everyone was swaying profusely and watching the conversation between Kaido and Big Mom in silence. Elbaf's giants sent out troops to fight, causing everyone to fall into fear. There has been a rumor among the high-ranking pirate community for decades that King Elbaf is a terrifying creature that severely injured young Whitebeard. Whitebeard is a man who can activate the ability to move the Earth's crust and destroy the world. Advertisement. But during the war, they were stopped by Tyr and the 3 generals. How long does it take for him to arrive? Kaido asked. About 3 days. I'd better go take a look, Linlin. Up to you. The capital of flowers. Tail left the street where Zoro fought with Kusushiro and walked towards the street where Kakunakori was. After he incited the citizens of Flower City, all the citizens became eager to take action, and some even wanted to overthrow Orochi's regime. However, he is still afraid of Kaido's control. Lord Momonosuke, Kikinobu, who was knocked away by Tyr, lay on the ground for several minutes looking at the sky. To be honest, I have never liked killing women. Tyr paused and was stunned when he recalled the women he had killed on Nine Snake Island. Well, at least there won't be any indiscriminate killing now. Kinemon and Kanjuro's lifecards burned out. It must be your doing. Kikunoshi stood up, his slender figure tightly holding the handle of the knife, and keeping an eye on Tyr. Yes, it takes no effort at all. You killed the son of Kazuki Oden, the future shogunate of Wano country. Stop talking nonsense. Tail slashed at him with the first-generation ghost blade. You, like your brother Izo, will die in my hands. Brother, he's dead? My sternum was cut off with my knife, and I was buried in Malinvondo next to Whitebeard in such a miserable state. Kikino-chung held his sword to resist Tyr's attack, but was instantly repelled by the powerful force, causing his body to become unstable and continue to retreat. As a marine, shouldn't you be here to fight against pirates? Yes. Then why are you attacking us? Isn't Oden a pirate? You follow him so wholeheartedly, and you still want to protect his heirs after more than 20 years, aren't you just pirates? Listening to Tyr's words, Juji-chung was speechless. I swear allegiance to that G-beast. Tail put first-generation Kitetsu into the air and disappeared. This made Kyoji-chung stunned, wondering what kind of ability Tyr used. What's going on? Why can you put your hand into the air? She asked in confusion. You don't need to know. Tyr moved his hands and feet, intending to use his fists to kill Kikino-chung in front of him. It's been a long time since I've used the 6 styles. Chapter 162. The Kingdom of Wano arrives at the general's mansion. Just now, the violent shaking that occurred on the west side of the Flower City was caused by that guy, right? Zoro and Gyasi quickly swung, fought, and collided with their knives. They compete with each other in their swordsmanship. From the beginning, the battle was evenly matched, but Zoro gradually widened the distance due to Zoro's rapid growth. Don't be distracted. Zoro knocked him back with a knife, and there was an aura in his body that made Kwang Shilong feel cold. With the blessing of 2 demonic knives, the ghostly energy in Zoro's body appears. Your opponent is me, Chinba Shi Trouble Wind, boom. The charged flying slashes of the 3 knives rushed out of Zoro's blade and attacked Kwangshiru with a ferocious aura. Kwang Shilang's heart tightened suddenly, feeling that the power of Zoro's slash was several times higher than the 2 sword style just now. Drink. He looked at the flying slash approaching him and collided with it with a horizontal slash. What on earth is going on? This guy has grown up in the battle. The veins in both arms of Kwangshiru were ligated, and he couldn't easily deflect Zoro's 3 sword style annoyance even after spending a lot of energy. This is no harder than catching a cannon with your bare hands, samurai. Taking this opportunity, Zoro sheathed the 3 weapons. He only held Wado Ichimonji and rushed towards Kwangshiru, who was struggling to resist his flying slash. Ito Ryu Ei. Seeing that Zoro continued to attack, Kwang Shilong had to use a lot of domineering power to deflect the flying slashes. Sliding for a distance on the street, holding the handle of the knife tightly with both hands, looking at Zoro seriously. Damn it. Is that move the Ei slash? Kwang Shilong steadied his horse on the spot, sheathed the sword and concentrated on accumulating power. I know a little bit better down there. Both of them rushed towards each other, and when their bodies intertwined, a sword light flashed in the center of the attack. Block the dead lion Gurgur. The moment Zoro put Wado Yimonji into the scabbard, blood spurted out from Kwang Shilang's left shoulder into the air. You can use Ei to this level, and your appearance really reminds me of a Suzugo daimyo. Ah, what are you talking about? Zoro turned around and pulled out 3 knives again to face Kwangshiru. Shimotsuki Yushimaru, that senior looks exactly like you. You don't have any blood relationship with him, do you? The cut on the left shoulder was not deep, but it would also affect Kwang Shilang's subsequent combat effectiveness. Shimotsuki. Zoro was very familiar with these 2 words. I don't know why people from Wano would help Marine, but it's useless to talk about it now. That's right, I haven't seen my relatives since I was a child, and I don't want to explore this matter. Zoro calmed down his curiosity and returned to nature. Advertisement. 6 Kings Spear. Just when the 2 were about to draw their swords, a loud shout from Tyr suddenly came from the next street. The aftermath of the move spread to the place where they were dueling, and even hit several buildings. After the smoke and dust dissipated, Tyr stood on the top of a roof while carrying Kakunacheng's body. Here, this guy wants to save Momonosuke just like you. I guess you guys should know each other, right? Tyr threw Kakune's body in front of Kwang Shilong. Looking at Kikuchi Cheng's lifeless face, with blood and fist marks all over his body, Kwang Shilong felt pain as if a nerve had been poked. His face darkened and was filled with gloom. Tyr pulled out the wine bottle from his waist and sat calmly on the roof of the eaves, looking at Zoro and Kwang Shilong. Hurry up, Zoro, the battle is almost over. Xiaoju. Kwang Shilong faced Tyr and slashed out from the air. Taylor's palms moved slightly. The moment the sword energy entwined with domineering energy approached Tyr, it transformed into nearly 100 solid sword blades that spun rapidly in front of Tyr. If you want to end the battle so quickly, just have a taste of your own sword energy. Boom. Kwang Shilang's own sword energy transformed into the ability to attack himself in front of Tyr. The sword blades flew wildly, constantly bombarding him. Relying on his stronger body skills, Kwang Shilong managed to dodge and block the sword blade that Tyr casually attacked him with. Hey, this is my fight, Tyr. Zoro saw that Kwang Shilong had successfully survived Tyr's flying sword and immediately roared at him. Then end the fight quickly. Huh, damn it. What's going on? The slash turned into your power? Kwang Shilong was panting heavily. I don't understand what kind of ability Tyr used to decompose his sword energy. It seems that a person must be trained in a close battle. Or, constant killing and fighting. Obviously, Tyr did not cultivate Zoro in his own way of improvement. This next move will kill you. Zoro began to recite poetry in his mouth, and the 2 swords began to spin in his hands to form airwaves. I have endured it for more than 20 years. Kwang Shilong was in a mess at the moment. Kikunoshi's death stimulated his brain. Is this what we got in the end? We were wiped out by Marine. The secret of 3 sword styles, 1 to 3000. Advertisement bang. The street was trampled to pieces by Zoro, and he rushed directly in front of Kwang Shilong and instantly penetrated his body. Kwang Shilong, whose physical strength had not yet recovered, tried to resist with a knife, but was cut off along with the knife in his hand. Wide world. Seeing Kwang Shilong fall, Tai jumped down to the dilapidated street under the eaves and walked to Zoro, whose muscles were full of blood. Patted him on the shoulder. Zoro took the word, Wado, from his mouth and looked back at Kwangshiru. From his current position, he had no choice but to kill Kwang Shilang. He chose life between life and death, so he had to obey everything Tyr said, and this did not bring him any harm. If Kazuki Oden is really what Tyr said, then you can be considered a guilty person. Let's go, Zoro. I brought another 10 million belly to go find the Oran and have some fun. I won't go. Zoro immediately rejected Tyr. Why? You ruined my duel and ended it as soon as I found the feeling of fighting. Don't worry. Tyr walked towards the largest flower shop in the Flower City. Next, there will be more powerful guys who will challenge you. The swords scattered throughout the streets all scattered into air currents and rushed into Tyr's body. Taking Zoro to the general's mansion in the Flower City, Tyr saw Kazuki Hiyori staring at him from the balcony above with an ashen face. Kurozumi Orochi Tai backed away in fright. That guy came to take my life. Protect me. When Hiyori saw Tell, he immediately pulled out the musket hidden in his kimono and aimed at Tell. Boom. She pulled the trigger and the bullet hurtled toward Tell. The bullets flying towards Tyr were easily grasped by his fingertips. Suddenly I have no interest in courtesans. A smoke bomb exploded behind Hiyori. The ninja troops directly under the Wano general heard Kurozumi Orochi's call and all appeared in front of the Orochi. Ninja. Kill him, the sinner who incited the nation. My servants. Kurozumi was so nervous that he gave the order directly. He made the stupidest move. Tyr flew into the air, above the tallest building in Wano, with his hands open and looking down at them all. Ninja. They're just a bunch of weaklings. Chapter 163 The Kingdom of Wano, Killing the Aran. You guys' mood is really unstable. Zoro looked confused. Seeing that Tyr was beginning to gather strength, he quickly evacuated the crowd and fled the area without wiping the sweat on his forehead. This Wano woman is really nice. How does it taste? Forget it, now that you're here, it's all in your pocket. Tyr narrowed his eyes seriously and stared at Kazuki Hiyori. His whole body was enveloped by the high-speed rotating sword energy flow. It seemed as if a powerful force was about to burst out, raising the general's mansion below to the ground. High-speed rotating airflow around the body. What are you going to do? Kurozumi has not yet realized that he is about to die. With the protection of ninjas, he feels safe at this moment. The last remnant of the Kazuki clan is a woman. Bang bang bang. The ninjas fired collectively at Tyr. When the bullets penetrated his body, they were instantly cut into pieces by Tyr's elemental sword energy. You evil person. Kazuki Hiyori glared at Tyr with a fierce look on his face and eyes filled with hatred. I will definitely kill you. Evil? Sorry, this is Marine versus 4 Emperors Total War. Tyr raised the corners of his mouth and looked at them like ants. Feel the pain, experience the pain, accept the pain, understand the pain. Tyr combined all his experiences in the past 10 years and looked down at them with his eyes like a god. Dense body protecting sword blades poured out from his waist and enveloped the entire general's mansion. Where did he get so many sword blades? What is he going to do? Around the center of Tyr's sword blade, he pointed his sword and his eyes overflowed with white light. Sword Ming Ning. Boom. Tyr activated his conquerors, causing all the sword blades around his body to vibrate with sword sounds. The sword blades resonate with each other and release the sword energy to connect them into a circle. The sword that emitted the sound of the sword continued to gather huge power towards the fingertips of Central Tyr. Feast. Taylor moved his fingertips downwards. A huge sword energy impact fell from the sky. That rascal. It's over. Advertisement. The aura of sword energy carrying destruction was like a terrifying strong wind. Suddenly, a dazzling light burst out from under the center of Tell, like a high heat beam, penetrating the entire structure of the building. The Wano General building began to tremble, the glass shattered, and the tiles cracked. The frightened people wanted to flee one after another, but they were instantly swallowed up by the sword energy at the speed of light. The huge roar sounded like the end of the world. Floors of the building collapsed, sending bricks and steel bars flying everywhere. The tragic scene is like a chilling picture. Outside the Flower City, the chaos was mixed with people's screams and wailings. Tyr's power destroyed the entire Wano Shogun building. He stared down with an expressionless face. Everyone looked at Tyr's figure standing in the air and was filled with fear and horror. Is it necessary for this kind of country to exist? The general was reduced to rubble, and the rubble piled up like mountains. Tyr cancelled his flying ability and landed, standing in the middle of the ruins looking at the big snake and all his subordinates. Ah, are you? The big snake, covered in blood and full of fear, was crushed by the rubble. What is it? Tyr's eyes were as deep and blue as the extremely cold ice abyss, staring at him. That's wrong. Kurozumi felt something was wrong and thought for a moment. Tyr's identity was Marine, not Akasaki Jushou. It is inconsistent with the prediction made more than 20 years ago. Since you are a Marine, why don't you go to attack Kaido and destroy my regime that controls Wano country? The people will also suffer. Who cares? Tyr stretched out his hand to face him, and a sword came out of his palm and rushed directly into his mouth and penetrated his brain. Kurozumi died with his eyes still open. The area near the general building was in a mess, with smoke covering most of the buildings. Tail walked towards the woman protected by his sword energy, Kazuki Hiyori. Although I'm not as perverted as your father, I still like beautiful women very much. Kazuki Hiyori, who was lying on the ground with her legs bent and hands on her hands, had dull eyes. She couldn't believe that someone dared to take action against Wano country. Moreover, there is no regard for the safety of the people of Wano country. I surrender. Hiyori seemed to have a mental breakdown, her face suddenly changed from fearful to fearful. Ha ha ha, Hiyori seemed to have a nervous breakdown, smiling a little sickly as she crawled towards Tyr. With tears in his eyes and a courtesan smile on his face, he said to Tyr. Put on this obedient look. Is this hostility? Zoro was shocked and couldn't believe that Tyr would unleash hostility against him now. Hiyori is a self-centered person, and now that she is the last member of the family, she feels that with her beauty and talent, she can definitely survive under Tyr. Advertisement. When Hiyori saw Tyr aiming the tip of the knife at his heart, he was also stunned. What's wrong? But, can you kill an unarmed person? It seems you know him. As long as you live, you can do whatever you want. I'll let you do whatever you want. Kazuki Hiyori's openness made Tyr feel a little scared. He was originally very interested in her appearance, but he was worried that he would get sick if he touched her. I have been in a brothel for more than 10 years, how can I still be clean? I just like working here. Are you still clean? Taylor couldn't help but ask this question. The sword energy barrier was lifted, and Tyr walked to her and knelt down to look at her with a look of despair. After watching Tyr kill such a beautiful woman, Zoro's face became serious and veins appeared on his forehead. He reached into his sword domain space and took out Tnu Zan. It is hard to imagine that the most beautiful woman in the Wano country in front of me is more suitable for the word, fallen princess. It's hard to imagine how many rich guys you've been cuddling with and how many times your body has been touched by them. Even if I kill the entire Wano country, I won't feel guilty at all. In order to prevent her from being alone in the world, Tyr thought for a moment and decided to send her to reunite with her family. With one stab of the knife, Tyr directly stabbed her heart. Tyr walked up to her, holding the knife and looking at her with murderous intent. Pull out the blade. Father's knife. Tyr, who had just become interested in her, suddenly turned pale. His family had been destroyed, but he could still bend his knees in an instant. She is a woman, Tyr. Great, I really want to do weird things to you. Who says women can't be killed? I'm sorry, I don't like women like you who are not clean and self-sufficient. If you were more reserved, I might even take her away from you. Zoro ran over on the streets of Wano country at this time, and walked through the smoke to Tyr's side. The things the Kazuki clan did were all outrageous. Whether it was Momonosuke, Oden, or Sukiyaki, they all did some ugly deeds that made everyone want to destroy their clan. After hearing this, Tyr looked stern and looked at her, who looked sick and mentally disturbed, and stood up. What's that expression on your face? Tyr came to Zoro's side, and his breath made Zoro break out in a cold sweat. Because Tyr protected her when he made his move just now. Feel sorry. Chapter 164. The country of Wano, Lousy takes care of you. A fickle personality and boundless strength. Zoro, who now surrenders to Tyr, has no choice at all. Even when facing his cold side, he has little say. In the distant sky, dark clouds accompanied a giant creature quietly approaching. Telephone picked up the knife and looked into the distance. I can't suppress the cold-blooded side in my heart. I'm not you, Roronoa Zoro, who got lost and wandered the sea when I was young. Zoro said nothing after listening to Tyr's words, and followed him quietly. After following Tyr for a year, he also heard rumors about Tyr. No matter how cold-blooded he is still very kind to his own people. What happened? A huge green dragon approaches the flower capital under the black clouds. He looked at the general building that had disappeared in the flower city in the distance. A black shadow jumped onto the eaves of the building and quickly approached Kaido using its strength. Who is that guy? Kaido recognized Tail, who was running towards him at a glance. Kid. Kaido's dragon's mouth immediately gathered huge power. A burst of hot breath came out of his dragon's mouth and he quickly rushed towards Tyr. You really dare to leave your lair. The Tnu ignited Tyr's arm domineering energy, and the red flame airflow endowed the blade. Tail stepped through the air with reckless energy and ran straight in front of Kaido's hot breath. Cut it out with one knife. Conqueror's sword energy split the huge heat breath into two. Seeing this, Tyr danced his huge green dragon body, letting the dragon scales wrap around his domineering energy to resist Tyr's slashing attack. Ding! The domineering force collided with his dragon scales, and soon after the stalemate, it was offset by Kaido's domineering force. The blue dragon's body rushed into the ground, and Kaido, who transformed into a human form, landed on the streets of the Flower City. Back then, I killed you instantly with one blow, but now you are so stubborn. That guy killed the big snake. What a reckless lunatic. Tyr also fell into the street, holding the handle of the knife with both hands and running towards him quickly with excitement on his face. Let me kill you first. Tyr wanted to test his current strength, and the test subject in front of him couldn't be better. Boom. Seeing the red flames burning the blade in Tyr's hand, Kaido also squeezed the huge mace tightly, releasing his own domineering momentum to shock the surroundings. He had to admit that Tyr's domineering strength was now strong and he could not resist Tyr's slashing attack. Advertisement lightning cracked the ground, and countless surrounding buildings were destroyed by Conqueror's lightning. Both of them ignored the wailing Wano citizens. Thunder 8 trigrams. Annihilate the sword energy. Bang. The weapons collided fiercely, and the explosive domineering impact spread violently to the surroundings. The street was almost destroyed by the collision of the two people's moves. Turn into pieces. Countless Wano people were blown into the air by the impact, unable to stop in the area where the two men were fighting. Ah! Tyr yelled. The moment the blade clashed with Kaido, the muscles in his arms were already tense. The blood vessels on his wrist seemed to burst at any moment, which was difficult for him to accept. Haha! Kaido smiled, mocking that Tyr's power was no longer as good as his. When we were involved in the war, that old man with white beard did a good job. How about I send you to see him? Bang! Tyr used his strength again, trying to repel Kaido. But he found that except for his domineering strength, the gap in strength was obvious. This made Tyr feel a sense of excitement that he had not seen for a long time this year. If I were here, I would definitely smash your head in, kid. Kaido's rugged body and the mace in his hand were several times the size of Tyr's, and his arms suddenly exerted force. Let Tyr feel the pressure and grit his teeth to resist. Now is not the time to start a war. When Tyr hesitated whether to activate the sword god form, he considered the overall situation. If we fight Kaido to the death now, the battle plan will be messed up. Boom! Tyr was knocked back by Kaido's stick, and his legs slid on the ground for nearly 20 meters before stopping. Kaido smiled and put the mace on Wei En's shoulders. How do you want to compensate me for destroying my legitimate business partner? Tyr, who stabilized his body, summoned 7 knives from the sword domain space and rotated them at high speed around his body. He held the black sword in his right hand and the first-generation Kitetsu in his left hand, 2 of the scariest knives. Compensation? Taylor raised the corners of his lips and smiled. Have you seen the Marine who compensated the 4 emperors? Oh, by the way, when the Warring States period was in power, they would indeed negotiate with you in this way, but times have changed now. The aura that Kaido felt from Tyr was a bit exciting for him to have a hearty battle. After becoming Marine General, you really straightened your back. I haven't activated my ability yet, Kaido. Tyr's figure flashed in an instant and appeared in front of him holding 2 swords. The moment the 2 swords were slashed out at the same time, Kaido's mace also quickly swung out. The sword wind is wanton and unrivaled. Tyr and Kaido, who only relied on the power of the sword, started a battle of hand-to-hand combat abilities. Advertisement. The collision continued for several minutes, and Tyr was knocked away by Kaido's stick, flying to the northern wasteland of Wano country. Damn it, you little brat. For making the Flower City such a mess, my economic system for manufacturing weapons is out of control. Kaido panted slightly and complained. In the air, Tyr clenched the hilts of his double swords with both hands and laughed at himself. My physical strength is still not as good as that guy's. It's not good. Just focus on fighting on your own and forget about Zoro. Tail, who withstood Kaido's blow, was not seriously injured. After thinking about it, Tyr felt that it didn't matter. Zoro wouldn't go anywhere anyway. Tyr, who fell naturally, appears above the Marine camp. In the military camp, Belob, who was getting used to the soldiers, noticed something was wrong and looked up to the horizon. What is that kid doing? Hey, stop. Boom. Tyr's body crashed directly into Belobetti's military camp, creating a hole in the ground. You. B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** buffer for Tyr's fall. It's so soft. Your skin. After the smoke and dust dispersed, Tyr stood up from the hole while holding her breasts. General Tyr, what happened? Why did you fall from the sky? Knocked away by Kaido. Tyr responded directly to the soldiers. So, you're not hurt, are you? Belabeti, who looked at the uniform, felt evil thoughts. Get up and drive. Brat, old woman. Tell pointed to Belabeti's nose, I advise you to speak politely to me, or Lousy will kill you. Belabeti was at a loss for words when she heard what Tyr said, and her old face gradually turned red. General Marine, is it really okay to say such filthy words in broad daylight? Isn't this bad? Belabeti stood up and straightened out her boldly exposed clothes. Tell, who was looking at Belabeti, had long been unhappy with this woman. Go to training. Tyr yelled to the blushing soldiers around him, what are you doing here? Yes. Waiting for the soldiers to leave, Tell walked up to Belabeti alone and approached her ear. Lousy, I'll deal with you now, you foul-mouthed old woman. Since Belabeti joined Teal, she always likes to use words to stimulate Teal and try to arouse his emotions. I don't know if it's because of the encouraging fruit or something else, but Tyr always feels unhappy with her. Before Belabeti could react, she was picked up by Tyr and walked towards the tent. Belabeti, who was picked up by Tyr, slapped Tyr on the head and struggled wildly. Hey, what are you doing? We are not suitable for each other. I am 14 years older than you, ah. Chapter 165 Wano Country, Weak Shinigami. It took about half a day to carry Belabeti into the tent. With the blessing of the encouraged fruit and the foul-mouthed insults from Belabeti, Tyr's body was really overwhelmed. Cramp. It is said that hunters often appear in the form of prey. Late that night, Tyr finally understood this truth. He came out of Belabeti's tent topless, holding up his pants and trying to climb out with a look of pain on his face. Mr. General. What's wrong with you? Help me. Tell looked embarrassed and extended a hand for help to the soldiers standing guard. You scum. Belabeti yelled insultingly from the tent, isn't this enough, pervert? Don't come here. Tell turned over and kicked Belabeti with his legs, but she pulled her back with one hand. The tent door that had just been opened was closed again. The romantic atmosphere created by the swaying oil lamp made the two people look at each other in the brightly lit room. If you come here again, I'll chop you. Taylor took out the blade and threatened her. Is this all you have for a piece of trash like you? You didn't think you were so powerful? Belabeti's face was rosy, and she kept insulting him close to Tyr's face. It seemed that after tasting the man in front of me for more than 10 hours, I got a sense of satisfaction that I had never experienced before. Was the encouragement fruit activated too powerfully? This made Belabeti a little suspicious. Tyr has gone from being frivolous and perverted when he was young to now knowing for the first time how scary women are, and he finally understands the meaning of this sentence. There are only cows that have been plowed to death, but no fields that have been plowed. Staring at Belabeti's smooth and soft skin, Tyr reached out and touched it again. Actually, if you are a little more delicate and vulnerable, we can have a romantic night together for a few days and nights. Really? Really? But, Tyr shouted, stood up straight and put on his clothes. I'm no longer interested. You should reflect on it, and I will test you next time. After resting for a while, Taylor walked towards the tent door. I didn't expect that this is your first time, old woman. You are really an older leftover girl. I am the only older leftover girl like you that I can take a liking to. Belabeti got angry and kicked Tail out of the tent. Go away, you scum. Belabeti was not used to a guy like Teal who was so good at taking advantage of him. Advertisement, my man, she murmured alone in the tent and couldn't help but laugh. Tell cursed and left, the novelty of Belabeti still not dissipating. Next time, she must be handcuffed with a seafloor stone to prevent her from having another cramp due to excessive energy. Oh, is it already late at night? After walking out of Belabeti's military camp, Tyr came to Smoker's location. Smoker. Is Roranoa back? Who knows about that guy? Smoker, who was polishing his weapon. 10 hands, responded to Tyr. Kaido didn't catch up and cause trouble. It seemed that he only went to the flower capital to check the situation during the day. When he returned to his command camp, Tyr found that Shisha had been helping him process the documents for the past few days while wearing glasses. Do you have any information, General Tyr? Shisha did not look at Tyr and continued to write the documents that Tyr should have handled by himself. I got rid of the Kurozumi snake after being hit with a stick by Kaido. Sure enough, that sword light impact was your masterpiece. You also give people a unique beauty when you wear glasses, Shisha. Tyr praised her appearance. Although Shisha's combat effectiveness is not at the first tier level, her ability to solve problems as a civilian is top-notch. Shisha's face turned slightly red, a little shy, and she continued to work hard. Do you like me wearing glasses? Well, very good. Then where is the person I wear for you to watch every day? As soon as she raised her head, Shisha discovered that Tell had disappeared into the tent. Darkness instantly enveloped Tyr's spiritual world, but Shinigami did not appear in front of Tyr. The surrounding gravity suddenly became lighter, and the soldiers were saved in the air by Fujitora's ability. Tyr touched the black sidebrand on his neck. Boom. Ah! A miserable scream emanated from the blade, and the sickle around Tyr's neck began to tear Tyr's nerves. He began to make bold guesses, recalling the Shinigami in the jungle of Sword God Island. The cave under which he could run still had the traces of bone cracks left by Tyr on his body for the first time. The explosion wave spread from his body towards the military camp, and some of the soldiers who were sleeping soundly late at night were blown away before they could react. For example, kill Shinigami. It turns out that apart from some rules abilities, you are so weak. Tyr's face twisted in pain and he said with a ferocious smile. Advertisement, drink. Only first-generation Kitetsu was left standing on the bank of the river. Are gods so weak? This made Tyr even more convinced that the Shinigami in this world could be killed, and their strength was at best only that of general-level immortals. Only the wailing blade hung in front of him, emitting the Shinigami's cry of pain. Bang! There is a conjecture in his mind, that is, since the Shinigami is in his wailing blade, will something strange happen if he destroys the blade or squeezes the blade with strong force? The mournful cry was inserted in the center, and Thunder Rain, Sakuragi, Mewku, Tianyu Yuzan, Yanmo, and Shu Shui were all inserted around the mournful cry by Tyr. I want to instantly merge the other 6 knives into the wailing blade to form a peerless weapon that surpasses any other knife in this world. Seeing Shinigami struggling like this, Tyr activated his domineering power to increase the degree of fusion. Beside the polluted river, Tyr summoned all 7 knives to rotate round his body. The left hand also activated the sword god's hand, using all his strength to activate the fruit's ability to continuously control the other 6 swords, using the ability to compress and decompose them into sword energy and blend it into the scream. Your Excellency Sword God, what are you doing? Shinigami, who was lurking in Tyr's screams, seemed to have heard Tyr's words and wanted to escape from the blade. Sure enough, the Shinigami in this world are very weak. There must be many people who have seen him, right? Tyr endured the pain and increased the release of his abilities. Given such a huge sword energy, once the blade is integrated into the scream, he will definitely be wiped out from this world by Tyr's ability. Not only him, but all the other generals in the military camp were awakened and came to where Tyr was and looked at the black and white aura in the middle of Tyr's arms. Stop! Stop quickly! Shinigami's screams echoed in Tyr's ears. Around it, as if to do something. If he could be eliminated, Tyr felt that he would be free from his control, not bound by any rules, and would no longer be his slave to harvest lives. He restricted his actions and appeared in the screaming knife. Could it be? What kind of weapon will appear if you are combined into one? Can you break Kaido's defense without using haki? A dark repulsive force spread around the black knife. The Shinigami tried their best to stop Tyr from forging new weapons. Given. Tyr opened the sword god's hand in his right hand and stroked the blade, wrapping them all with boundless sword energy. Tyr's eyes suddenly became serious and sharp as he watched Shinigami's dark aura float out. Sensing the abnormality, Fujitora walked out of his tent, raised his sword and activated his power to reach the river bank where Tell was. Chapter 166 in Wano Country, the 4 Emperors' elimination plan begins. The moment the 6 blades merged into the Wailing Blade, a beam of sword light broke through Shinigami's last struggle, causing his dark aura to completely disappear into the black sword. The sword light dissipated and Tai knelt down, sweating profusely. Beside him, there was only a first-generation Kitetsu and a black sword with a dark red blade. 1.5 meters tall, standing in front of Tyr. Tyr touched his neck and saw that the sickle mark had not disappeared, but he could not sense Shinigami's extremely dark aura. He doesn't know that the ability that Shinigami gave him to destroy the soul power of the devil fruit is still inside the sword. In other words, is Shinigami dead? Does he still exist on the island? He was not even sure. What he was sure of was that Tyr had now obtained a weapon so powerful that it made him break into a cold sweat. Taylor swallowed, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and stood up, reaching out to hold the handle of the knife. In just an instant, a large amount of domineering energy was sucked away from Taylor's body, causing him to reach back his hand instantly. I can't control you anymore with my sword? From his playful attitude, Tyr's expression became extremely serious. He leaned forward again with a firm gaze and grasped the blade. Surrender to me. The terrifying killing intention of killing millions of creatures, coupled with Tyr's overwhelming momentum, almost instantly made Evolution's scream surrender. Tyr turned around and looked at the soldiers and officers who were awakened by the movement he made. Obey the order. Everyone looked at Tell solemnly for a moment. The battle plan to defeat Kaido has begun to be implemented. It will be implemented tomorrow morning. All departments are preparing weapons and ammunition. Is it finally starting? Kurozumi, the snake, and his subordinates have been wiped out by Tyr, and the fighting power of the Flower City has completely collapsed, leaving only 2 4 emperors huddled on Onigashima. With his current weapons, there is no need to use any fancy haki consumption. He should be able to directly break the physical defenses of Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. Big Mom brings almost the entire team's combat power, so this must be a tough battle. Although the 4 emperors are divided into strong and weak ones, those with the strongest ability to fight are undoubtedly the sons of Charlotte Linlin. There are countless weird monsters of all kinds. At dawn, all the officers will come to my tent and hold a combat meeting. Morning. Advertisement Teal's command tent was filled with about 30 Marine officers. Huo Shaoshan, Doberman, Lieutenant General Ghost Spider. Tyr glanced at them. Hurry up and give your orders, Tyr. This is a once-in-a-century battle to eliminate the 4 emperors. We will definitely live up to your expectations. It's time for these pirates to disappear from the sea. Seeing how energetic they were, Tell smiled slightly and pointed at the map of Wano Country and continued. You 3 seniors are attacking the southeastern region, known as the Northern Cemetery. I heard that there is a strong guy guarding it. After occupation, it doesn't matter if all the enemy troops are wiped out. After all, Wano Country is the power of a certain will, so it doesn't matter if the entire country is destroyed. After occupying it, wait for the large forces to attack the Baiwu area. There must be officers from the Kaido Pirates and the Big Mom Pirates stationed there. The 3 old lieutenant generals immediately went to prepare according to Tyr's order, and they left the tent. Tyr walked up to Gion Momosagi and looked at her with a playful expression. Momosagi. Hurry up and tell me, where do you want me to capture? Gion Momosagi felt itchy when Tyr saw him. Everyone here, your strength may be at the forefront. Jory has the largest number of Kaido's troops stationed there, so I leave it to you. No problem. Momoshage didn't linger and went to prepare immediately. Remember, if you encounter a strong enemy, contact the rear for support immediately, don't do it alone. Curry, as the fiefdom of Oden Daimyo more than 20 years ago, is naturally an area that Kaido attaches great importance to. Only Doer, Mozambia, and Steers knew 3 of them, and the other 2 were unknown. Among the cadres there are now 3 sons and daughters of Big Mom stationed there. As soldiers, they have long made the decision to sacrifice. Zoro wandered around the flower capital for a day, and accidentally walked from the flower capital to Suzugo Township and started a battle with Ashura Doji. Little Tyr, I didn't expect you to give me such a dangerous mission. Duo took a puff of cigarette and said, after the war is over, how are you going to compensate me? First of all, Tyr was also a little worried about the troops deployed by Elbaf. The marine soldiers were probably just lambs to be slaughtered in front of them. Fujitora has the most local flavor of Wano country, so it would be better to ask him to incite them. This is the most dangerous mission, and the chance of survival is even lower than fighting on land. Chopper has been developing a drug to eliminate river water pollution in the past few days, and Tyr also told him to follow the troops to resist the virus released by Kaido's technological troops. Advertisement after the combat order was issued, everyone immediately returned to their barracks to prepare. Smile. Of course I will follow you to stop Red Hair and Elbaf's troops. A few days later. Hold on, even if I fight to the death, I may not be their opponent, just deal with them. This war is completely decided by Tyr, and he can launch it whenever he wants. In the Nozomi wasteland of Wano country, in Tyr's tent. Smoker, Tashi, and the rest of you are divided into 2 teams and attack Rabbit Dawn across the flower capital. We must kill all their forces outside Onigashima in one fell swoop. The mighty marine army entered the flower city and various towns and streets, frightening all the citizens of Wano to close their doors and dare not go out. What do you want me to do? Lord Sword God. Yishao ate the ramen in his hand with a relaxed and disapproving expression. Fight to the death or hold off? Stirs asked. Tyr's order is very clear. Occupy the flower capital with the least casualties. Therefore, when the army crossed the street, everyone could only hide in the windows of the houses and watch. No matter what you do, after the war is over, this era will change again. Pirates will no longer have a strong force. The flower city is under your control. Gather the samurai there and ask them to fight against Kaido together. Once the red-haired pirates landed, Tyr's mind was entirely focused on the 4 emperors' highest combat power, and he had no spare time to care about them. The combat order was immediately informed by the headquarters and world government. After all, the flower city has lost its ruler and is in chaos. Lieutenant General Steers, Doer, you 2 are the commanders-in-chief of the maritime combat forces. When you see the red-haired pirates and Elbaf's warships, you directly fire to intercept them. There are 5 lieutenant generals from other New World regions standing there. As you command. How about you? In their educational thinking, Marine is taught to be a more extreme terrorist organization than pirates. Otherwise, if we only rely on their words, we may be easily destroyed. There is no doubt that this was a hard-fought battle with heavy casualties. Chapter 167 The Country of Wano, Elbaf Warriors. The storm is like a huge beast ready to move in the dark night, swallowing up all the light. The sky instantly became gloomy, and dark clouds were galloping in the sky like thousands of troops, making the whole world full of oppression. In the waters of Wano country, a warship dozens of times larger than a marine giant warship passed through the harsh weather and arrived in the waters of Wano country. A young giant king, about 63 years old, about 30 meters tall, wearing a crown and holding a high-quality sword, stood at the bow of the ship. Behind him, there were thousands of giant warriors, excited for the next war. Speaking of which, I didn't expect there to be someone in trouble for you in this area, Shanks. He said to the red-haired man at his feet. That's right, otherwise I wouldn't have asked you to come out in person, Loki. The red-haired man stared at the dozen or so warships that appeared in front of the sea. Tyr was sitting cross-legged on one, waving the evolved black sword. What is that? Elbaf's expedition warship made Tyr frown. Like a small moving island, the northern sea of Wano appeared in front of him. Warships from other areas should all return to the Greek and American waters. Tell said seriously to the phone bugs in front of him. As you command. No, General. Mo Sandia's panicked voice came from the phone bug. There is also a huge pirate ship here in Giuli. It's the giant pirates. It's the Red Ghost and Blue Ogre. It seems that Brogy and Dongli have also landed. Shank's familiar voice reached Ty's ears, and he stood at the bow of the giant warship. Looking down from above on Tyr sitting on the warship. Long time no see, Brad, it's time to clear our accounts. To the west. Where Gion Momoshage attacked. Telephone was worried that cold sweat broke out on his subordinates' foreheads. This means that she needs to face the 4 emperors Kaido and the cadres of the Big Mom pirates at the same time. Behind Shanks, a huge figure stood behind him, squinting his eyes and looking at Tyr. Not as strong as Whitebeard. Why did you lose to him, Shanks? King Loki of Elbaf said contemptuously. He also has the ability to transform and exponentially enhance his body functions. It has been a whole year since the last time. I don't know how much his strength has improved. The scar on Shank's chest from Tyr's attack still causes him unbearable pain. As a 4 emperors without any ability blessing, relying purely on swordsmanship and domineering, his injuries have made his strength not as good as his peak, but it is also extremely terrifying. Giant. When the soldiers saw this battle, they became frightened before the battle started. Really, if Elbaf sends troops, it will make the world tremble. Lieutenant General Duoer's face broke out in cold sweat, and he was somewhat shocked in his heart. Advertisement, all warships fire. Tel stood up and gave the order directly. Fire the cannon? Loki mocked. Do you think this battleship is made of ordinary wood? Cannonballs cannot cause damage to it? Can you petrify him, Hancock? Tel asked Hancock, who was not far away. No. I can't feel any evil thoughts about my body from him. That's right, how could someone with such a huge height be interested in Hancock? Boom. The shell hit the side of the giant's warship and exploded without leaving any trace of destruction. The hull looks like a wooden plank, but it is as solid as iron and stone. Damn it. Teal complained in his heart, is it true that military power cannot determine the outcome of a war in this world? Retreat to the coast first and let them land. The warships began to withdraw to the coast of Greece and the United States, but they could not exceed the speed of Elbaf's warships. Are you going to take action? Shanks noticed Loki's curiosity about Tyr and consciously led his pirate group back. Then the age of our giant race, I'm just a teenager, ha 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 ha. He clenched the hilt of the sword with both hands, and the surrounding weather trembled due to the aura emanating from his body. Humph. Who can't do the same thing? Tyr said with a contemptuous smile on his face. Drops of sweat broke out from his forehead. This is something even the red-haired pirates can't do now. Sink. King Elbaf swung his sword, and the terrifying sword wind like a roaring mountain in a tsunami struck towards Tyr. Ha, such a terrifying force tearing through the air made Tyr curl his lips. With his blood boiling all over, he began to desire to fight the enemy in front of him again. The warship retreated, and Tyr jumped out from the mast with the evolved black sword and rushed directly towards the huge swordwind that was nearly 100 times larger than his body. Can't tear it apart? Then I'll chop it into pieces with a knife. Boom. Tyr's blade struck Loki's swordwind, causing the sword energy that could destroy the entire fleet to stagnate in the air. Advertisement, violent lightning overflowed in front of Tyr. The moment the swordwind collided with the Tyr blade, a storm-like impact spread across the back of Wano to the mainland. Haha. Tyr tried his best to block the swordwind swung by Loki, his smile getting crazier and crazier. Huh? Loki, who observed Tyr's expression, also noticed that Tyr was unnatural. Such a small body can actually stay in the air and resist the huge swordwind he swung? You're right, Shanks, he is indeed a bellicose lunatic. At first, this kid was not like this, crush me. The red sword energy appeared on the blade, swallowing, tearing, and splitting Loki's swordwind. Under the power of Tyr, the violent sword energy instantly shattered Loki's moves. It rushed straight towards the huge battleship where Loki was, but was easily blocked by Loki's sword and disappeared into the air. The evolved black knife is so powerful that Tyr can hardly imagine it. Before Tyr could take a breath, Shanks exploded and jumped out of the Elbaf warship, appearing in the air and slashing out in front of Tyr. Boom. The power was so great that Tyr was knocked back with one strike and flew back to the coast of Wano Nozomi. Get to the shore quickly, don't fight this guy at sea. Although he is a devil fruit user, the seawater seems to have no effect on him. The redhead shouted to Loki. Driven by the giant, the warship approached Nozomi with an unstoppable momentum. It seems. I really need some support. Tell Island stood up, patted the dust on his body and said. He didn't know when the Green Bull would arrive. The situation was indeed a bit critical now. If the 4 emperors go to war, even if Fujitora sits down, they will not be able to resist Kaido and Linlin's 4 emperors groups for a long time. Moreover, the power of the giant king was beyond Tyr's expectation. Damn guy, he's so powerful, and he's also an intelligent creature. No. How can we resist the giants? Seeing thousands of behemoth giant warriors landing on the beach, each giant warrior is equipped with a giant shield and a giant sword. No matter whether they are attacking or defending, they cannot gain the upper hand. Chapter 168. The country of Wano intercepts the giant warriors and activates the general's Green Bull ability. If the soldiers were to rush over directly, it would be strange if all of them would be trampled into meat pies by the giants. Just right. He raised his hand towards the sky, and Shanks immediately came to him to stop him. This time, don't even think about using that trick. Shanks exploded and swung his sword in front of Tyr, his strongest domineering power not hidden at all. Nowadays, in terms of speed, strength, and physical functions, Shanks is no longer as good as Teal. Taylor quickly waved his right arm, held it in front of him and violently shook his arm to swing the knife. Boom. Before the two people's conqueror's domination could spread, Shanks and the griffin in his hand were slashed away by Tyr. Be prepared to survive and resist as much as you can. As soon as Shanks was knocked away, Tyr rushed towards his face and fired domineering bullets. The musket fired from Beckman's hand. The moment the bullet came into contact with Tell, he was chopped into pieces in the air with a knife from Tell. With so many warships on the coast, how many people did you bring with you? Beckman, who had broken his arm, asked. Tyr did not respond to him, but directed the soldiers to evacuate into the wilderness while shooting. Under the terrible oppression of the giants, about 1,700 soldiers ran towards the flower capital at full speed. You go too, Sissa. Shisha didn't say much this time. She hesitated and looked at Tyr for a few seconds before leaving quickly. The guy with the electric baton can be left to me, but what should we do with such a huge giant force? Just when Tyr was feeling troubled, a guy who looked exactly like a tree trunk in the distance was running over quickly. Ha 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 ha. He laughed heartily, as if he wanted to see Tell immediately. Flowers and trees were in full bloom wherever they passed, and tiny vines spread rapidly. So many nutrients, I haven't eaten from giants before. This person was none other than Green Bull Panmu, and his sudden arrival gave Tyr a big surprise. The wasteland was instantly transformed into an oasis by his ability, and tree trunks grew rapidly. Here comes another troublesome guy. What ability is that? 1 year ago, Marine recruited generals who were directly recruited through the world recruitment, Green Bull Panmu, who possessed the Logia Forest Fruit ability. Beckman responded to Loki's words. Then, Loki swung his sword at the Green Bull, who turned into a tree man and ran towards him quickly, intending to destroy him instantly. Advertisement boom. The huge sword wind approached the Green Bull and instantly submerged and swallowed him into a huge body of a tree man. Vulnerable. Just when Loki thought he had killed the Green Bull. Under photosynthesis, countless tree trunks and vines began to grow at a rapid rate, turning Zime, which was originally a wasteland, into a forest in an instant. The forest turned into a bunker for ordinary marine soldiers to retreat, which also allowed Tyr to put down his worries. Ha ha ha. Vulnerable. The Green Bull's voice echoed in the ears of the giants, and countless vines were like thin snakes quickly approaching the landing giant troops. Climbing up to their majestic and huge bodies, it slowly bound some of them and began to grow thorns to absorb all the nutrients in their bodies. Charge forward in a row. These green plants will absorb nutrients from the human body. The captain of the giant army gave an order, and all the giants rushed towards the flower capital like an overwhelming mountain. Boom. A terrifying sword attack instantly penetrated the front row of the giant army from the forest created by the Green Bull. Cut off countless tree trunks, shatter the steel shields of the giant troops in the front row, and knock them to the ground. Have you forgotten my existence? The Green Bull grew eyes from the trunk of a tree near Tyr, transformed a big tree into his body and stood beside Tyr. Ha ha ha, Tyr. Why didn't you tell me before you acted? Facing the Green Bull's enthusiasm, Tyr showed helplessness. There is no trace of rebellion in this guy's body, and his behavior is extremely decisive. The temperament belongs to the kind of person who particularly worships absolute justice, decisiveness, and strength. Tyr rolled his eyes at him. We can't let this huge giant army enter the rear of the army, Panic Animal. I will stop them, but you know I am most afraid of strong domineering power. Red hair will be left to you. After briefly discussing the terms of the battle, Tyr quickly ran to find Shanks' place. Leaving Green Bull standing alone, he used all his strength to activate the Sense and Fruit ability, growing nearby trees into trees that were 100 meters taller than the giants. God help me, the sunshine today is particularly comfortable. These 100-meter-long trees have become a natural moat wall blocking the giants' troops, allowing them to get lost in the huge forest. Sword coming. The sword light shot out in all directions and soared into the sky. In order to lend a helping hand to the Green Bull, Tyr used his infinite sword energy to hang in the air and frantically bombarded the giants' troops like a violent storm. Advertisement. The king's power of Elbaf is a bit tricky. Even I can't compete with him. Just try your best to intercept them, Green Bull. When Tyr's voice echoed in Green Bull's ears, a tree trunk hundreds of meters away was cut off by Loki's sword and fell into the huge forest. Don't worry, creating mazes is my strength. Other lieutenant generals who came to support were shocked by the huge jungle in front of them when they approached the coast of the Zime area. What happened? Isn't this originally a wasteland? There should be no grass growing. Could it be that General Green Ox is here? It must be right. He is the only one in this world who can create so many green plants in an instant. Stirs and 2 other lieutenant generals led more than 2,000 soldiers to land quietly and fight with the red-haired pirates' rear troops. In the huge jungle. From the moment he met Tyr, Bank Punch has been patient. Now in the jungle, he is climbing vines like a monkey and looking for Tyr's forest. Mengshida, whom he regarded as his only relative, was mercilessly killed by Tyr. This hatred is indelible. Where is that B******************? D. Bank Punch landed on the branch of a tree and crouched down to feel Tyr's breath. Suddenly he felt a chill behind him and turned around to look. Tyr, who was squatting on a branch higher than him, had red eyes and stared at him as if he were prey. Although I will not limit the methods of sight, hearing and color detection, I have now learned to hide my own aura so that you cannot discover it. Ah! The moment he saw Tyr, Bankpunch's biological instinctual anger suddenly broke out. Clenching his fists, he instantly wrapped himself with armed domineering energy and rushed towards Tyr. Give me the Mangshita. The punch broke through the air, and the powerful fist was blocked by Tyr with his knife. The fierce collision was noticed by the rest of the red-haired pirate group. It's coming here quickly. In this huge forest created by green cattle, who is the prey? Who is the hunter? Everything must be decided by those who are stronger and know how to hide their own aura. Give that stinky monkey back to you. Tyr grinned. Then give me my G Tiffany. This was a relationship that Tyr had when he was growing up, which he still can't let go of. Although his personality has changed drastically, his hatred for the red-haired pirates holds a far greater place in Ty's heart than anything else. Chapter 169 The Country of Wano. Baina Haichuan. The blade cut into the skin of the domineering fist, making Bank Binji a little stunned. If he wants to repel Tyr and protect himself, no matter how hard he exerts himself, he cannot shake him now. Tyr was a little annoyed at the moment. He saw the familiar faces of the red-haired pirates just after the battle started. His arm suddenly exerted force, and in an instant, Bankpunch's fist collided with the black knife's scream, and Tyr chopped the bones and flesh into two halves. Ah! Horrifying screams spread all around the dense forest, and the red-haired man who rushed over immediately had his pupils dilated and looked at the scene in front of him. Like a cannonball, Bankpunch was knocked away by Tyr's knife and hit a huge tree trunk, smashing out a huge dented bowl. What kind of rubbish pirate? Tyr scolded Bankpunch, who was holding his right arm and shouting in pain. You always say the same thing, yours is the most important? Cooperate with me, Beckman. Shanks looked angry when he saw this scene. Without saying a word to Tyr, he directly drew his sword, used the force on the tree trunk to jump in front of Tyr, and swung the sword. Let's finish it today. Tyr blocked with a knife, feeling Shanks' strength decline. He felt much more relaxed than before. Boom! A silent bullet was surrounded by domineering power and quickly approached Tyr's body. This made Tyr frown, and the conquerors in his body poured out the moment he sensed the danger. An explosion-like impact caused everything around him to be repelled by Tyr, including Shanks, who was also knocked back and fell to the nearby texture. Silent domineering bullet. Tyr was shocked, and he didn't dare to be careless after seeing it. This time the red-haired pirates no longer had the previous opening remarks, but directly wanted to kill Tyr. The red text of history was destroyed by Tyr, which made it impossible to fulfill the promise the red-haired boy made to Roger. A quarter of Raftru's secret has been hidden forever. 2 people. No. The exploding conquerors ended, and Rikaru's bulging body suddenly attacked from behind Tyr. Tyr turned around and slashed out with his sword. The sword energy rushed out of the black knife blade, and many 100-meter trees in front of him were cut directly through the air. Flawless. Rikiru blocked it with his domineering armor, but he also withstood the impact of Tyr's sword energy, which made him feel uncomfortable. My justice is different from others. If you are black, you will die, but you, a scumbag who hides deeply but poses a huge threat to the world, will definitely die. Tyr, who used the Marine 6-style shave, appeared in front of Shanks in less than a second and swung his sword. Advertisement Beckman couldn't help but capture his position, and when fighting against Shanks, he couldn't predict his next move with his knowledge. Teal relied entirely on his physical reactions to fight him. The two engaged in a domineering and sword-fighting battle on a huge tree branch. The fight went back and forth, and when Taylor had the upper hand and was about to slash Shanks' chest with a knife, a silver-haired Rayleigh suddenly appeared in Taylor and quietly approached Taylor. After discovering this, Tyr's expression turned ferocious. He used all his strength to fight back Shanks with a knife. The moment he turned around, the knife in Rayleigh's hand struck Tyr in response. Pluton's terrifying conqueror's slash caused Tyr to suffer severe injuries and spurt blood instantly. He made a mistake. And you, Pluton Rayleigh. Tyr's roar of pain spread around. Now, Shanks. Pluton Rayleigh held the handle of the knife and swung the knife again, but Tyr blocked it. However, Griffin still burst out with red and black thunder and lightning in Shanks' hands behind him. This blow is for Jesus. Shanks did not hesitate, stepping out with the help of the tree trunk and rushing towards Tyr. He arrived in front of Tyr in an instant. God avoids. As soon as the god escaped, a strong conqueror's impact suddenly erupted around him. Even the 100-meter tree trunk that could block the giants collapsed under the full force of Shanks' attack that wanted to kill Tyr. What is this? Shanks looked at the ripples in space behind Tyr. God's avoidance seemed to be isolated by some kind of power, allowing him to increase the conqueror's power in his hands. Under the domineering power of Shanks, the space of Tyr's sword domain was torn apart, showing signs of fragmentation. Tyr's body began to transform and his size began to expand. During the war on the top, Tyr's ability should have awakened once, but is it awakening again this time? The sword domain is shrouded, and thousands of swords reach the sky. The huge rebound force instantly knocked him away. The body-protecting sword blade surrounded Tyr in all directions, and the domineering bullets shot on it were instantly cut into pieces. The screaming blade exudes the terrifying conqueror's aura, and Tyr's whole body is filled with dazzling sword energy. This is the only move in Tyr's sword god slash that is related to the sound of the sword. The sword light flashed, as if thousands of lightnings cut through the space, surrounding Rayleigh, Shanks, Lakiru, and the broken arm Beckman. Advertisement: the awakening of the phantom species has nothing to do with the paramecia characteristics in Tyr, so Shanks and his partners did not expect this time. Be careful, this guy's body changes are different from the previous times. Along with Tyr's words, everything around them turned into sword blades hanging around the four of them. The moment Tyr shook Pluton Rayleigh away, the sword domain was also crushed head-on by God. Tyr's face was cold, and all his strength was concentrated on the sword finger of his right hand, and he laughed at them. We are surrounded by this guy's ability. What kind of terrifying ability is it? He patted his chest with the hand of the sword god, allowing the sword energy to circulate between the scars, achieving the effect of stopping bleeding and connecting the meridians. Don't let him play. Shanks made a decisive move when he saw that the power on Tyr's finger was fully charged and he was about to play the black knife. Awakening. Shanks was a little shocked. It smashed countless tree trunks until Tyr fell into the ground where there was still yellow sand. When paramecia awakens, Tyr can break down the sword energy attacking him without even using his arms. Sixth form. Baina Haichuan. Boom. Baina Haichuan, a blockbuster. As soon as Tyr finished speaking, his figure flashed to the center of the four of them. In order to stop Tyr, Rayleigh swung a huge sword energy from the air and rushed towards him. Before the sword energy could touch Tyr, he was disintegrated in the air. Like the sound of nature with harmonious melody, it resonates with the breath in the air. He turned around and put the black knife in front of him. Before he had time to decompose the powerful sword energy, Tyr's body was pushed forward in the huge forest by the gods. Roll. Being able to predict the future is not necessarily a good thing, right, Shanks? Are you awakened? Everything around you has become his sword blade? Before Tell could take a breath, a silent bullet quietly approached his head. Snapped. Damn it. If we were hit by that attack in this closed space, none of us would be able to survive intact. In this world, domineering power is the power that can destroy everything. Even Tyr's sword space is no exception. Rayleigh realized something was wrong and swung his sword towards Tyr's sword formation. As a sword body, it resonates with the body. Tyr's voice echoed around him. Getting bigger. Chapter 170 in Wano Country, 4 Emperors attack. Shanks loses his partner again. Stop him. Rayleigh teamed up with Shanks, and the blades in their hands burned with red and black thunder. Wushuang Haki slashed at Tyr at the same time, unable to take care of Rikiru and Beckman. Where is Uda? Shanks desperately wanted to know Uda's whereabouts. Boom. Tyr ignored him with a smile and flicked his blade directly. The moment the impact of the scarlet sword shook the blade, Rayleigh and Shanks had already gathered their domineering power. The sword array limited the attack range of Tyr's moves and could not limit the power of the moves. Beizang's sword cry, which was fused with Conqueror's domineering energy, lacked space to spread, causing a huge explosion in the sword formation. The sword energy flew across the sky, exploding into the sky. The entire Wano kingdom, including the forest created by the Green Bull, trembled under Tyr's blow. Red Hair, Rayleigh, Lakiru, and Beckman were trying to resist. The moment they saw Teal's move, their attack instantly changed to defense. The armed armor is fully used to defend against Tyr's terrifying blow. Whether it was the citizens of the Kingdom of Flowers or the soldiers who rushed to the front line to fight the pirates, they all stopped their movements under the aftermath of Tyr's attack. Everyone looked up to the sky. That is General Tyr's ability. Haha, it seems that just as Tyr expected, the red-haired pirates will indeed land somewhere in Wano Country. Huo Xiaoshan said, slashing down the Kaido pirate's pirate in front of him with one knife, causing his whole body to burn. Mr. Yishao. What should we do? Who knows? Fujitora smiled and replied indifferently. He understood the purpose of Taylor's arrangement of him in the flower capital. It is nothing more than to prevent the 4 emperors from attacking themselves, so that he can win more Tyr to solve the trouble in the Nozomi region in northern Wano. On the shore of a pier on Ghost Island, a white-haired woman wearing a kimono with ghost horns on her head looked at the cracked sky with a shocked face. What kind of power is it that causes the sky at this distance to be shattered? The woman wore explosive shackles on her hands, as if she was specially restrained on the Ghost Island and not allowed to go out. This person is the daughter of Kaido's Kaido. Because of her rebellion, she claims to be Odin, and is placed under house arrest by Kaido on the Ghost Island and is not allowed to leave. Advertisement, Yamato. Behind her, a large group of subordinates from the Whitehead Pirates and the Big Mom Pirates gathered, rushing to the coast as if they were preparing for an expedition. Kaido. Yamato showed hostility towards his father, glaring at him like an enemy. It's father, Mom, you are really incompetent, Kaido, to teach such a child. Big Mom is also going to attack. It seems that Wano country is really occupied by Marine and is attacking Onigashima. Linlin, how about a competition? Kaido suddenly sat on the ground and suggested. Charlotte Linlin looked surprised. What are you competing for? Kaido laughed and continued. How about we compare, who is better, your children or my subordinates? Interesting, do you want to compete with me in strength? This is a battle of life and death. We need to defeat the Marine who wants to occupy Wano country first. If we take action, it will be over in an instant. How boring would that be? So, you want to see whose subordinates can kill the most Marines? Yes, this is a great opportunity. There haven't been so many Marines attacking us in decades. The two looked at each other with open lips, and soon reached an agreement. A crusade of this scale, together with two Marine generals, had never been encountered on land for decades. They were so excited that they couldn't help but feel nostalgic. It's been 38 years, Kaido, Mom, Charlotte Linlin looked up to the sky and laughed. My body hasn't been this boiling for a long time. The pain caused by that battle is still like yesterday. Lead the rest of your men to Wano country to fight Marine. Remember, you can't kill less Marines than the old woman. Faced with Yamato's painless venting, Kaido simply ignored her. Yamato kicked Kaido. Jin, seeing Charlotte Linlin order, Kaido immediately called the chief general of his pirate group. After saying that, Tyr kicked the two people who didn't block Sword God Zon's sixth form in front of the red hair. Because the ultimate desire of a warrior who respects strength is to die in battle. The turbulent air around them gradually calmed down, and the two bodies that were instantly incapacitated were stepped on by Tyr. As the general of the Big Mom pirates, you take your brothers and sisters to the Udon, Curry, and Hikumai areas to defeat Marine. Advertisement, don't worry, leave it to me, Mr. Kaido. Hateful. The broken sword array and the dazzling sword energy dispersed. Rayleigh and Shanks knelt on one knee and relied on their strong domineering power to take down Tyr's Bena Haichuan. This domineering energy must be from the fight between Shanks and that brat, right? Charlotte Linlin watched the sword energy exploding in the sky in the distance. The two's physical defense serves as the ceiling on the sea, coupled with Kaido's warlike character, they will naturally not be afraid of Tyr's crusade. As a survivor of the Lunaria tribe, Jin possesses the most abnormal defense capabilities in the world. Stinky Gorilla. Unlock the shackles. Yamato came to Kaido, stretched out his hands with an angry face and asked him to unshackle himself. Here, Mom. Old woman. Kaido suddenly looked at Charlotte Linlin in displeasure. You're the one with nimble legs and feet, right? Mr. Kaido. Get out of here, I'm in the middle of a war and I'm not in the mood to care about you, you idiot son. Who knows, it would be better if that guy Shanks died, it would be better if both sides suffer, and it would be good to reap the benefits. Katakuri. Charlotte Linlin shouted to her chief general. Don't think I'll show mercy, redhead. The mighty Four Emperors' army was almost in full force, heading to Wano country to prevent Marine from occupying all strongholds. Katakuri held a trident and stood out from the team to face Kaido and Linlin. Otherwise, they will be surrounded by Tyr's army, and once the supplies are exhausted, they will be finished. This is a crusade that is as good as the Battle of the Valley of the Gods. You won't be afraid, right? She teased Kaido. He also stood up from the Four Emperors expedition team, spread out the black wings on his back, and burned the unique flames of the Lunaria tribe alongside Katakuri. Unwilling to do so, Yamato ran to the inside of Onigashima. She wanted to participate in something she had never seen before, but the exploding bracelet made her unable to do anything. She can still fight as a powerful fighter without hostility, but Yamato's mind is full of thoughts of killing him, so Kaido can only imprison her on Onigashima. No. You are an escaped prisoner from Onigashima, and you cannot be released. Kaido refused her. For Kaido, although Yamato worships foreigners, he is still his own blood. Mom, of course. As you command. Chapter 171 Wano Country, Tyr vs Rayleigh, Shanks. Rikiru. Beckman. Shanks watched the most important Rikiru die in front of him, and the dying Beckman with his mouth full of blood. This image made his world seem to be suspended. Even the two of you, Tyr suddenly exuded a strong murderous aura and pounced on the two of them. It's impossible to defeat me now. After awakening Paramisha's ability, Tyr achieved a truly unlimited amount of sword energy in a sense. Once the energy in his body was consumed, he could charge the surrounding things with his own sword energy. The red-haired man hugged Beckman, his arms trembling a little as he wiped the blood from his mouth. Cheer up, Beckman, you are my most important partner. The meridians and internal organs all over his body were shattered, and Tyr couldn't think of anything that could keep Beckman alive. Unless a miracle happens. Seeing that Tyr was not going to attack directly, Rayleigh could only hold a knife in front of Shanks. A year ago on Nine Snakes Island, he was defeated by Tyr in 3 minutes. Although he was careless at the time, he could not be afraid of Tyr's power. An unprecedented enemy, killing so decisively and cruelly? Under the forest, Hancock saw that Rayleigh had arrived in person. After some inner struggle, he chose to deal with the other members of the red-haired pirate group. She couldn't take action against Rayleigh, her savior, and now she couldn't let go of everything and betray Tyr. She was faced with a dilemma. Cruel? Tyr was amused by Rayleigh's words. Were these two words spoken by the pirate to others? Tyr did not engage in unnecessary conversations with them, enjoying the pleasure brought by Shank's pain. The hypocritical guy in front of him is one of the strongest people that Tyr has killed. Roger's token of his will was also destroyed by you, and people were killed by you. I have never met a guy like you. I really regret it. Tail covered his face and laughed wildly. I regret not blocking the Straw Hat Boy and trampling on that Straw Hat Boy. In the battle not far from Tyr, the giant's terrifying power of destroying the terrain was helpless against the Green Bull's dense fruit ability. No matter how they cut down the trees, he seemed to be the master of this forest. Play with the enemy however you want. Of course, facing Loki who unleashed his domineering power, he found it very difficult. Giants actually know conquerors? Who would have thought of this? Your Majesty the King. We must attack him together and defeat him. Many soldiers have been sucked dry and fell. It's so delicious, giants, rich and juicy nutritional liquid. Advertisement. He felt very satisfied after sucking up several giant green bulls. He had never eaten such delicious nutrients. He watched Loki in the dark and summoned a large number of thick vines to attack him. Whoosh! Loki swung his sword, and a violent sword wind instantly tore the green bull's vines apart. There is no threat to him at all. It's a tricky ability, but as a material for building warships, it may be able to transport more Elbaf soldiers, Loki said calmly. It's useless. You giant guys can't break through my defense. Green Bull activated his ability again and blocked the road at the edge of the forest exit with 100-meter-long trees, layer by layer forming a natural chasm. Are you trying to buy time for that villain? Loki looked at the countless warriors behind him who were bound and absorbed by thick vines. He had no response to such a natural disaster. In what he saw and heard, green cattle were everywhere, and the smell of green cattle was everywhere. It seems that every flower, grass and tree is his incarnation. What surprises me is that the giants actually sent troops to countries beyond the sea to fight Marine for a four emperors plan. Do you know what this means? Loki remained silent, his expression becoming a little serious. Can't tell? Then I'll tell you. The green bull turned into a tree man with the same mass as the giants and appeared in front of Loki. He picked up the giant sword and shield on the ground and slashed at Loki. This means the giant race will be destroyed. The confrontation between the Green Bull and Loki, the king of the giants, officially begins. With his ability, the giants who can threaten Tyr's 300,000 troops are unable to move even an inch. Beishyong. Shanks saw that Beckman was about to lose his life and shouted to his ship's doctor with great concern. Little did he know that Beishyong was being intercepted by Hancock, who was fighting for Tyr. Rayleigh struck a chord in Tyr's heart with one glance, shocking him to the core. Stop shouting. As long as we eliminate you two, the fate of the red-haired pirates will be over. Tail walked towards them with a knife. There is no one in this world that a sword cannot kill, and your eyes cannot deceive me. Boy, you have been buried in the dark world for too long. With a gloomy look on his face, he held Griffin in his hand and looked like a red devil all over his body, bursting out with terrifying conquerors and rushing towards Tyr. Kill me. Tyr also rushed towards Shanks. Have you forgotten the feeling of defeat a year ago? As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sharp pain behind Tyr, which streaked along his back to his waist. Bang! The power of the screaming knife is beyond Shank's current imagination, and it is no longer effective to make up for the lack of strength in Tyr with domineering force. Advertisement: there will be no place for you four emperors to stand in the sea from now on. A slash of a creature transformed by his domineering power instantly rushed out of the blade and bit the hilt of Tyr's knife, knocking Tyr back. The moment Griffin struck Tyr's sword and shield, the sword and shield quickly cracked from the center and turned into fragments scattered in front of Tyr. The two weapons collided, and the Griffin blade in Shanks' hand was cut out of the gap with a scream. The pain in his body didn't stop him from hitting Shanks. Tyr's body slid backwards in the soil, and Rayleigh found the right moment to chop Tyr again. Especially when Rayleigh's figure flickered and disappeared from his sight, Tyr became extremely vigilant. Let's touch it again. This is the last one. Tyr, who rushed out, could not predict the next move of the two men. The domineering force of the burning blade caused sweat to break out on Rayleigh's forehead. The moment Beckman stopped breathing, Shanks never looked at him again. Boom! Shanks leaned back and shouted loudly, "Kill you!" Seeing Tell's action, Shanks put down Beckman and immediately stood up, planning to fight side by side with Rayleigh to eliminate Tell. In a world without color, no matter how you pretend to be confused, you can't go back to the past. Every step made the underground soil bumpy and engraved his heavy and powerful footprints. Griffin. Damn it! Shanks dragged his ligated arm and immediately distanced himself from Tyr. Drink. The cool feeling behind his back made Tyr, who was rushing towards Shanks, turn around and slash with all his strength, instantly repelling the sneak attack Pluton Rayleigh. What? Shanks' heart suddenly trembled when he saw a crack in the blade wrapped around his domineering force. His world has been without light other than black and white for too long. Boom. However, this brief second was enough for Tyr to adjust his sword-swinging posture. Why does the thorny power restrain the anticipation of seeing and seeing? Tyr was thinking about being attacked again by Rayleigh, urging conquerors to knock him back. Sword and shield. Tyr turned around immediately and saw Shanks' attack approaching. He stretched out his left hand to activate his ability to form a sword and shield in front of him. Chapter 172 Wano Country, Don't underestimate women, you fools. Tyr suddenly exerted his strength, raised Shanks' griffin slash high in the air with one hand, turned around and swung the knife towards Rayleigh who was charging towards him. Rayleigh was also shocked. What he just said didn't move Tyr. The griffin swallowed him up instantly and flew to the distant tree trunk again. Bang! There was a sunken hole in the tree trunk that Rayleigh knocked down. Cough! The old man was hit by this force, and his body spurted out a mouthful of blood. You can't prevent your death even if you look into my heart, Pluton Silbaz Rayleigh. Tyr's expression suddenly became serious. He inserted his screams into the soil, clasped his hands together and put his sword fingers in front of his face. The seventh style. Shocking sword chi. Drink. As Tyr's power expanded around his body, the terrifying sword energy rushed out of his body without restriction. Each sword energy was about 10 meters long and began to spread crazily in the forest created by Green Bull. You lunatic. Don't you care about your subordinates? Tyr, who had turned into sword energy and spread the light to the surrounding area, would naturally not forget Duoer and the others. Now that he is so proficient in controlling sword energy, he doesn't have to worry about hurting one of his own. Under the terrifying countless sword chi, all the 100-meter large trees in the area near Tyr were chopped off by his sword chi. It was as if everything around him could not escape the fate of being killed. On the battlefield of Green Bull, the bodies of the giants were cut wildly by the sword energy, and the earth was torn apart. Their flesh and blood became victims of Tyr's moves, and some of their bodies were not restrained by the vines, so they held the huge shield in front of them and resisted tenaciously. Where did this slash come from? Damn it! Our people are being slaughtered crazily. Green Bull used the huge wooden sword in his hand to fight back Loki, the giant king, and looked at the direction of Tyr's battle with a shocked face. You guy. You really don't care about anything. He observed the Onigashima the tail was attacking through his visceral haki. He didn't notice that even one of Tyr's attacks was rushing towards him. They were all aimed at the giants and the red-haired pirates. Ha 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 ha. Tyr's laughter spread to every corner of this huge forest. He was lying in the air, letting the huge sword energy in his body destroy everything around him like a meteor. The time to release the despair sword energy lasted for about 5 minutes. The giant army lost more than 1,000 people, and those corpses became nutrients for the Green Bull, allowing him to restore the ruined forest into a denser and lush forest. The aura of awakening lingered on Tyr's back, causing him to laugh contemptuously as he looked at Rayleigh and Shanks who were panting on the soil below. It seems that the last injury had a big impact on your strength, red hair? Advertisement, you indiscriminate murderous lunatic. Stop saying such high-sounding words here, scum, you really don't deserve these words. Taylor adjusted his posture, stood in the air and stretched out his arms to the sky. Wanji and Lingtian. The sword energy rushed from his arm into the clouds, completely covering the clouds above Wano Nozomi. Shanks also released a large number of Conqueror's Black Thunder into the clouds at the same time, instantly breaking Tyr's move. Countless sword blades were replaced by red Conquerors, and a bolt of red lightning fell from the sky and struck Tyr's body. Such a move, Tyr released the Overlord aura within his body and shook Shanks' Conqueror's lightning from his body. He threw it towards Bankpunch, who was hiding behind him with his severed arm. I'm going to make you miserable. A domineering battle of swordsmanship from the world's top level begins. The thick murderous intent in the air and the storm of swords destroying everything wantonly shocked the sky of Wano. The terrifying sword energy rushes out from the forest from time to time, and in the eyes of the citizens of the flower capital, it is like a world-stunning performance. Southwest of the Bell, Marine soldiers have defeated the frontline troops guarding there. I can feel the impact that stings my skin from such a distance. It turns out that Nozomi is the frontline. That guy from Tyr must have known about this beforehand, so he allowed us to come and occupy the stronghold in Wano country first. Several lieutenant generals were leading soldiers around Asura Boy, feeling the violent aura coming from the distance. Roranoa, stand back, your combat power needs to be conserved, let us deal with him. Ah! Zoro, who was fighting Asura Boy, heard this, knocked back Asura Boy with one blow, and then took Wado Ichimonji out of his mouth. He looked at the marine lieutenants with disdain. Has that guy from Tyr given the battle order? What is that? Zoro looked at the towering trees that suddenly appeared in the Nozomi area and the terrifying aura of the Scarlet Storm. It was like staring into hell, which shocked his heart. That's right. Damn it, When will you give me a strong opponent? Zoro complained. Marine. Asura Boy's face was full of vigilance, and he backed away with a knife. He was originally guarding this place, but Zoro suddenly lost his way and broke in, killing all his men. He had to fight Zoro as a last resort. 3 lieutenant generals, Ghost Spider, Huo Shaoshan and Dao Bowman, surrounded Asura Boy with knives. Asura, who was surrounded, had no intention of surrendering. He roared with excitement and rushed towards the 3 lieutenant generals as if he was dead. Rabadon, as a place where Kaido mineral resources are developed, has landed a group of giants that feel strange and familiar to Gion Momoshage. Momoshage wears the skin of justice and does not panic at all when Blue Ogre and Red Ogre log in with the giant pirates. Advertisement: I have to say that this war against Kaido was really unexpected. Both captains of the giant pirates 100 years ago appeared. Bah, 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 quack, quack, quack. 2 strange laughters came from their mouths, and the members of the giant soldier pirates behind them were already fighting the soldiers led by Gion Momoshage. There was smoke from exploding artillery shells everywhere, and it was difficult for the soldiers to stop these huge monsters. Vice Admiral Marine Brogy looked down at Gion Momoshage, and struck Gion Momoshage with a big axe in his hand. It's been a long time since I've used a sword. Gion Momoshage raised his famous sword, Kinpira, high above his head with only one hand. Boom! The giant axe slashed into the ground, causing smoke to billow around the mine. An axe chop made Brogy's expression somewhat moved. This feeling, couldn't it be blocking it? The smoke dissipated in the air within a few seconds, and Brogy could clearly see the scene in front of him. I saw Gion Momoshage blocking an axe blade dozens of times larger than her body with one hand. Don't think that women can only dress up, you fools. Momoshage's arm shook and he retreated along with Brogy's huge body. Brogy was shaken by Gion Momoshage's powerful force and fell backwards. Brgy. What are you doing? He is a mean woman, Dongli, be careful. Brogy's huge body fell to the ground, and he said to Dongli with a shocked look on his face, this guy is not an ordinary person. After Momoshage made his move, he exuded a heroic aura that was admirable. If you want to fight me, call Charlotte Linlin to come in person. Seeing the giant sword in Dong Li's hand coming back, she slashed out from the air. Boom! The sword energy that was unmatched by Dong Li instantly cut the giant shield in his hand into 2 halves. The strong man of the small human race. Chi-Chi was startled, and the sword energy from Momoshage's chest tore open the flesh, and a large amount of blood spilled out. The 2 captains were knocked down. Gion Momoshage, who has been seducing and arresting pirates for many years with her beauty, is not a weak and incompetent woman. She is one of the candidates for Marine headquarters to be a general. Fire the rope net gun and arrest all these giants, Gion Momoshage ordered to the stunned soldiers behind him. Yes, Lieutenant General Momoshage, don't underestimate women, you fools. Chapter 173 Wano Country, Government orders the heroic Gion Momoshage able to face the danger of the former giant pirates? Soldiers armed with rope net launchers began to frantically capture giants on the coast of Tuden Mine. Damn it, Tori. Brogy slowly got up, surprised by Gion Momoshage's strength. Are all female marines in this era so powerful? Dong Li also got up from the ground with a face full of shock. The 2 looked at each other, as if they already knew what the other was going to do. The 2 stood side by side, raising their giant axes and swords and aiming at Gion Momoshage. Combined attack. Seeing Tori and Brogy, the 2 former captains of the giant soldier pirates, activates the haki in the body. Gion Momoshage clasped the gold pyra in his hands at the same time. The blade burns with pink domineering power, and there are some pink cherry blossom petals mixed in it. Scattered around her, she gathered a strong domineering power and prepared to confront the 2 rough-looking giant captains head-on. I have never thought of being knocked down by a marine woman in my life. It's so embarrassing, ba ba ba. Can you take this blow? Tori and Brogy tried to stir up Gion Momoshage's emotions, trying to get her to face the power of this move. Haha, she smiled charmingly, not caring about such power at all. It is not a wise move to ridicule a potential general. Gion Momoshage, who originally planned to retain some strength, was so provoked that the powerful domineering air burst out from his body. Hi. Facing the sudden attack of the giant attack, although Gion Momoshage felt the pressure, it was far from the point where she could not resist. The domineering power and the power of the blade burst out of the body. An extremely powerful half-moon flying slash, no less powerful than the hi, collided with the combined attacks of the 2 men in the air, resulting in a fierce collision in the Tuden Mine. How can this be? The 2 captains of the former giant pirates were shocked and looked desperate when they found Gion Momoshage across from him with his mouth curled up, as if he didn't take them seriously at all. Although the giants are called the most powerful nation in the world, 800 years have passed since then, you frogs in the well. After Gion Momoshage finished speaking, he added another slash with the strength of his hand. Boom! The two extremely powerful flying slashes were superimposed, and the power radiated instantly swallowed up all the giants in front of her. Advertisement seeing that the impact of Hawkeye's move was shattered, Brogy and Tori immediately knelt on the ground and held their weapons in front of them to block Gion's slash. The soldiers who resisted the fiery impact were shocked by the scene before them. Instant kill. 1. This is the power of our Vice Admiral Marine. Ah! A large number of giants and the giant soldier pirates were like birds that lost their wings. They were struck by Gion Momosagi's two powerful domineering slashes and were directly knocked out of the country of Wano and flew to the sea. Captain Toli. Captain Brogy. The giants could not believe the outcome of the battle before them. The flying giants did not have Dongli and Brogy at all, only their two weapons stood in place. The axe body and sword body were all in pieces, as if they would fall apart with just a slight touch. Arrest these giant fools, and the artillery troops go to the coast to defend. Gion Momosagi did not carry it after defeating the giant soldier pirates. Because the red and black thunder of the battle in the distant Zime area was enough to shock the whole world. From a distance, she could sense how powerful Tyr's opponent was in the fierce battle. Her eyes were deep and firm as she murmured, "Don't worry, leave it to me, Tyr." After arresting the residents, soldiers surrounded the mining site. A commanding colonel came to Lieutenant General Gion. "Lieutenant General, there are still a large number of Wano warriors and beast pirates cadres in the mine. What should we do?" "Arrest everyone, free the samurai, and let them fight against the beasts and the Big Mom pirates together as a fighting force." "As you command." The war in Wano is being observed by CP0 who has sneaked into Wano, and the implementation status is being reported to the five elders. The government was very dissatisfied with this troop dispatch and was afraid that the collapse of the three major forces would affect the government's interests. They were hiding in the Holy Land Marijoa and were gathering to discuss the matter. Holy Land Marijoa, Pangu Castle Hall. There is a concentric phone bug in front of the five elders, receiving intelligence messages from CP0 at all times. General Tyr. On the phone, the CP Elite Ace paused, and the shock in his tone was heard by the five people. "What's up with him? Did the redhead really land? And that Rayleigh? Where is the young King Elbaf? How is the war going?" Advertisement: the government's Ace Elite is currently standing outside the huge forest outside Zime, blocked by a huge wall. He kept dodging the black thunder coming out of it and reporting the situation to the five elders. Green Bull and General Tyr are blocking Elbaf's troops. The intensity of the battle is like the end of the world. The color of the sky and air has turned red, and the conquerors has enveloped everything nearby. Black thunder destroyed the earth, and countless growing vines continued to lock and strengthen the area where Tyr was fighting. The vibration in the air made even the CP0 Ace Elite feel unstable. "We have an order for you, Guernica. What mission?" "Sneak in and find a way to injure that boy from Tyr so that he can withdraw his troops from Wano." This task made Cornica look puzzled and shocked. "What did you say?" After thinking for a few seconds, he was even a little angry. With his strength, if he sneaks in, it will not be easy if he is affected by the moves. "Execute the order, Guernica. Your existence is for the benefit of the government. 4 emperors can't withdraw from the world stage yet, that kid is too anxious." Guernica clenched her fists, and the veins on her forehead swelled. He couldn't find any words to refute 5 elders, but he still choked up and asked silently. "General Tyr is one of our own. Are your orders too much?" Executing an order, faced with Guernica's many questions, the 5 elders were also a little shocked. These CP0s have never refuted or disobeyed any government orders since they were trained. What happened now? "I understand." Guernica's eyes were red and her scalp was numb as she accepted the order. After remaining in the dark place for a long time, he used the 6th form moonwalk to run up to the sky 100 meters above the forest. The moment he passed through the dense leaves from above and entered the battlefield below, every cell in Guernica's body was threatened by conquerors. What level of battle is this? Guernica looked horrified, and even though his psychological quality was tempered, he could not lose sight of the battle in front of him. Below, Tyr, whose whole body was burning with domineering arrogance, wielded swords in both hands at super speed. Every swing of the arm would chop one of Rayleigh and Shanks into an unstable position, and the surrounding terrain was full of uneven and huge slashing holes. Chapter 174: The country of Wano failed to prevent it. "Mr. Rayleigh, the griffin is going to shatter," Shanks shouted to Rayleigh after being slashed back by Tyr. The black knife in his hand makes even Hockey unable to defend himself. Cough. Boom. Rayleigh was distracted in a quick sword fight with Tyr, but Tyr broke through the defense with a knife. The first-generation ghost blade quickly slashed Rayleigh's face from his chin. Rayleigh reacted and quickly took a step back, but still failed to dodge Tyr's slash. The tip of the knife chopped off the bones from the skin on the left side of his face, and pierced his left eye and knocked it away. "You all have to die here." Tyr's body was already covered in bruises. The swordsmanship between Rayleigh and Shanks can only be described as flawless. In terms of swordsmanship alone, he is now stronger than the two of them. But there is no way to get any benefits from the two of them fighting together. The combined combat power of the two of them has not doubled, but doubled. In a 1v1 fight with swordsmanship and domineering power alone, Tyr could easily defeat any one of them within 5 minutes. Rayleigh, who was unsteady and swaying, retreated to Shank's side and covered his right eye. The Conqueror's airflow on his body exploded and dispersed. Tyr tore off his coat and shirt that had been chopped to pieces by the two of them, revealing his scarred body, and disappeared instantly. Here we go again. Mr. Rayleigh. We can only bite the bullet, consume his life force, and there is a limit to what the devil fruit can do. The three fought together again, and Guernica, who was highly focused, found that he could not predict Shank's and Rayleigh's actions through what he saw. However, he can clearly observe Tyr's attack trajectory and movement trajectory, but his own speed cannot keep up with Tyr's speed. He hides his aura and is looking for a suitable opportunity. Except for Tyr's battle with Shanks and Rayleigh, everyone else's battles in this great forest technique are equally difficult. Bendick Snake of the red-haired pirates battled against Marine Lieutenant General Steelers, a fierce battle between the two sword style and the one sword style. Lime Jones versus Lieutenant General Dole, the two kept using moonwalk in the air. Duo Ur's combat weapon is a pair of finger tigers. She is a master of Grandmaster 6 styles and two-color hockey. So Lime Jones didn't suffer at all in her hands. Faced with such a life-and-death battle, the combat effectiveness of Marine Lieutenant Generals is no weaker than that of the cadres under the 4 Emperors Regiment. The main thing is that all the stronger cadres of the red-haired pirate group were killed by Tyr. Ben Beckman, Tyr said to Shanks and Rayleigh while wielding the knife. You have no right to talk about my partner, advertisement. He is praised by the government as the most intelligent person, didn't he fail to remind you? Teal's words reminded Shanks of his words before this expedition. I really want a daughter and a plan to pass on my will. Destroy all the existing forces of the red-haired pirates? The red-haired man naturally chose to save his daughter and continue Roger's legacy. I think annihilating you is the best response to the world today, Shanks said this firmly. Let Taylor be exposed instantly. It seems that Lousy is the pirate, and you are the one who upholds justice, right? The terrifying power in Tyr's body suddenly burst out. You just G like to confuse right and wrong, right? Let the people of the world once think that Marine is the evil in this world? The furious Tyr launched a violent attack on them. The sword shadows of the three men intertwined to form a red, gorgeous and charming picture of hell. Every thrust, slash and block revealed their mastery of swordsmanship and their knowledge of the opponent. Rayleigh and Shanks have evolved from an initial attack to a passive defense. Rayleigh, who has lost his left eye, has also reduced his reaction. Unable to predict the attack consciousness of the two men, Tyr suffered many slashes. They also relied on their rich combat experience to successfully attack several times, leaving slash scars on Tyr's body. You pirates have become the saviors of this world? Isn't it? Rayleigh affirmed, if there was no government oppression, the world would be much better than it is now. Having every island in the world fall into war is the beauty you expect? Guernica, who was hiding in secret, discovered that Tell's sword swing became heavier after being stimulated, but he lost his previous fluency. For the mission, he was struck by Shank's domineering slash in Tyr's body. While Tyr's body staggered back a few steps, he used 6 moves to quickly approach Tyr's 4-meter sword god's body. He hugged Tyr's body tightly with his body, and his whole body was filled with armed domineering energy, turning himself into a pile of pitch-black steel. CP0. Tyr was startled, and he immediately burst out with strength to break free. Iron piece of steel. Guernica hardened her body again. Sorry, General Tyr, this is my fate. During Guernica's mission to Tyr, the phone bug on her body did not hang up. In other words, all the movements in this forest are heard by the 5 elders. Shanks and Rayleigh, who were stunned for a second, reached a consensus at this moment. They stepped on the ground simultaneously and stabbed Tyr with all their strength with their swords. Seeing the two men rushing over, Tail let go of the black sword whale and first-generation ghost in his right hand, and formed a defensive sword and shield barrier in front of him. Sorry, Taylor's pupils shrank suddenly. Advertisement. Feeling Tyr's body begin to exert strength, Guernica, who was hugging him, spit out a mouthful of blood. As if his body was about to be exploded at any moment, he still held on to Tyr's body. Jianlin Judgment, Cation, Boom, Shanks and Rayleigh used their best sword skills. The terrifying and rioting conquerors caused the surrounding sky to change drastically. The two of them worked together to kill the whale and first-generation Kiteru controlled by Tyr with one sword. This blow determines the outcome. Do you know what you are doing? Tyr's henchman roared, watching the two slashing sword edges wrap with the ultimate conqueror's lightning break through his defense. His world seemed to be divided into two, and his body was continuously repelled by the terrifying domineering slashes and hit the tree trunk 100 meters behind him. Blood spurted out from his mouth and between his teeth, and Tyr looked extremely embarrassed. The internal organs in his chest were stirred, and the pain in his body had reached its limit. World government. At this moment, there were only these 4 words in his mind, as if he had been tricked. After using this move, the sword blades in Griffin and Rayleigh's hands turned into fragments and scattered on the ground. Tyr was slashed by Conqueror's lightning, and did not stop until he hit the edge wall of the Green Bull blocking the Zime area. The smoke cleared. Cough. Guernica, who succeeded in the sneak attack, knelt on the ground, bent her knees and covered her chest and spit out blood. Mission completed. Just when he thought his mission was completed, Tyr suddenly stood behind him, staring at him with a pair of eyes that were more terrifying than an evil ghost. What the hell are you? Guernica turned around and was frightened by Tyr's appearance on the spot. The appearance of the sword god's body has been completely lifted, and the body riddled with holes and a pale face is staring at him. I'm sure of victory, but a B***** ch like you comes out to hinder me again. It was those 5 guys who gave the order, right? I'm doing this for a mission too. Teal has nothing to say about CP0, nothing useful to this group of absolute lackeys who have been brainwashed by the world government. The only thing on their minds is the mission. Arriving in front of Guernica, Tell punched his heart out. Then he found the phone bug that had been talking to the 5 elders from his white suit and put it to his mouth. You bunch of beasts. Chapter 175 Wano Country, Conflict with the Government. It's Tyr who's flying over. What's going on? The domineering Jihu knocked back Lime Jones with one punch, and she used shaving to move quickly in the direction of Tyr's flight. Avoiding many 100-meter large trees that fell down along the way, Dole arrived at the southern edge of the forest. After discovering that Teal was venting countless vulgar words to the phone bug in his hand, he became extremely calm. What? Are you afraid that I will kill the remaining members of the Figaland family in the sea? What did you say? Dragon people, you can also. The 5 elders' tone was full of doubts, and they were obviously pretending to be confused. Shut up, I guarantee that the battle in Wano will end in one day. What do you want to do after this is over? 5 elders suddenly became serious. Tyr's tone was extremely hostile, which made the 5 elders feel bad. What do you think I want to do to 5 guys who almost killed me? Tyr said angrily, then hung up the phone immediately. Turning around and noticing Dole's arrival, Tyr immediately walked up. This is the CP0 corpse. What are you doing? Contact the G8 base and ask Leo to send all pacifists to the seaside to block the sea. Once any ships are discovered, all warships will be sunk. Using his own domineering ability to withstand this blow, Tyr also suffered internal injuries from the internal impact, which is not a big problem for him now. What about you? Doer saw Tyr pretending to be relaxed and continued walking deeper into the forest. I have to finish the final battle. The 5 elders are not ashamed of their actions. As the highest authority, they only need to say a word to get top agents to serve them. They don't care or know anything about anything on the front line and how hard the battle is in Tyr. It's as if the marine soldiers are chess pieces in their eyes. It just so happens that these beasts don't know how to play this game of chess. Loki, the king of the giants, encountered the most difficult opponent in his life. The Green Bull's dense fruit ability makes him extremely troublesome. Even if he hits dozens of hundreds of meters tall trees, the Green Bull's ability will instantly restore him. Let the destroyed green plants grow faster. Where is it? Tyr used sword energy to flow out inside and outside the skin to relieve the injured body. Advertisement. He returned to the previous battle terrain and vigilantly explored every move around him. Discovered, Lime Jones was discussing something in front of Rayleigh and Shanks. I haven't found Uda, boss. It seems he has hidden it somewhere. Lime Jones escaped from the battle with Dole and immediately rushed to Shanks and Rayleigh. Looking at the 2 corpses on the ground made him feel a little uncomfortable at the moment. Beckman and Rikiru were the first officers to join the red-haired pirates. They all died while fighting Marine Tyr. Mr. Rayleigh. Shanks looked at Rayleigh. How about you tell me about the big secret treasure? Do you want to hear it? The historical text was destroyed by that damn boy, and the way to Ravdru is difficult to find. We are the red-haired pirates. Lime Jones squatted down and looked at the bodies of Rikiru and Beckman. How did it become like this? Their hearts ached, but they didn't understand why they were in such a tragic state. As pirates, they advocate the lawless belief in freedom, and they have no feeling whatsoever about how many people they have killed. But he can blindly give everything to his partners. After thinking for a moment, Rayleigh decided to tell Shanks the secret of the big treasure. But the current atmosphere is obviously not suitable. When he was about to speak, Tyr's movement came from the branches above the 3 of them. Found it. You're not dead? Shanks subconsciously held the broken griffin. That was a full blow from him and Rayleigh hitting Tyr head on. Damn it, what's wrong with you? Rayleigh, who often experienced desperate situations when she was young, also felt a pressure at this moment. Isn't he dead? Lime Jones looked shocked, unable to believe that Tyr could survive the horrific injury just now. The fierce battle in the distance still did not stop, and the thousands of giants they brought did not break out of the huge forest created by the Green Bull until they died. Lime Jones's head was like a bowling ball, and his head and body were separated by a kick from Tyr. At the same time, Tyr also used his sword, using the flying finger gun as a cover-up attack, and quickly approached the beauty. Ding! In less than half a second, he came in front of the red-haired man and punched him in the head. Advertisement used the remaining domineering energy to simulate the blade. The moment Rayleigh moved sideways to avoid the flying finger gun, Taylor immediately appeared in front of him. Upon hearing this, Shanks, who was lying on the ground, was shocked. He immediately stood up and pinched the broken griffin. Haha, Tail laughed crazily in a low voice. I have never thought of defeating you with fists, so let's end this battle with Marine 6 style? On the other hand, Tail still has a lot of power left in his body, and the sword energy flowing in his body can hardly be used up, but it is very scattered. When Teal instantly defeated the exhausted Shanks, Rayleigh had already taken action and came behind Teal. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Lime Jones blocked his weapon, electric baton, in front of him. The head broke through the speed of sound in the air and flew to the distant sea outside Wano. Even though the black armor was attached to Tyr's skin, he was still pushed back several steps by Rayleigh. He skillfully used the Marine 6th form, moving at high speed in the field of vision of the red-haired and Rayleigh. His world was filled with darkness, except for Tyr, who had a strong sense of attack, walking around his body. A punch struck the right side of Tel's brain, click. After saying that, Taylor reached out and aimed at Rayleigh, plucked his fingertips and flicked it. The red-haired man reacted, but was unable to dodge, and was hit by Tyr with a big punch, knocking down a human figure in a depression on the ground. The combined attack just now had almost exhausted the domineering energy in their bodies. The shattered weapon made him look horrified, and he watched helplessly as Tyr's sweeping kick hit his neck. The brain was shocked, and Rayleigh covered her eyes and stepped back. Boom! Point to the gun. Taylor's finger quickly inserted into Rayleigh's right eye, blinding his remaining eye. I said, it's time to settle our accounts. Taylor then swung his leg and kicked Lime Jones in the brain. The remaining Conqueror's hockey in his body was interfering with his abilities, temporarily limiting his power over the sword. Taylor jumped down. The remnants of the old era, plus the remnants of the Figolante family. A seemingly weak, but actually powerful shockwave flew towards Rayleigh quickly. Still able to jump around. It's not that he can't use it all up, but that Tyr has learned to control his power. Loki, what are you doing? He shouted to his allies, but he couldn't get any response. Chapter 176 The Country of Wano, Red Hair's Defeat. Stop shouting. If you underestimate General Marine's power, this is what you will end up with. Not everyone can be a Marine general, and no one who can be appointed as a general is weak. Tyr stood behind Rayleigh, clasped his fists together, and swung them towards his head. Rayleigh, who sensed Tyr's attack, turned around instantly and made his final resistance. The domineering energy in his whole body burned out, and he threw his last punch. The moment the Six Kings spear collided with Rayleigh's fist, an impact instantly penetrated Rayleigh's right arm, swallowing half of his body into it. He made a slight sound of pain, and the expression on his face covered with blood instantly became lifeless. The impact light dispersed in the air, leaving Rayleigh with only half of her body kneeling on the ground unable to move. Pirates don't deserve sympathy, but you can see through the world in my mind, and you are a great person, Pluton Silbaz Rayleigh. Tyr looked down at Rayleigh, who was in an extremely miserable state, with only half of his body left. There is no doubt that these guys are the great pirates who will be praised by the pirate world in the future. And Tyr is the Marine who kills big pirates like them. The sword energy in Tyr's body was restored at this moment, and he condensed a sword blade in his palm and quickly turned around to block Shanks' sneak attack. Hockey clashed with the blade created by Tyr's ability, but Shanks' sneak attack failed. Shanks' domineering power at this moment could not even cause ripples in the surrounding air. You monster. Tyr looked at him indifferently, wiping away the coagulated blood on his face with his other hand. It's not enough. How should I torture you to make the pain I have suffered for 6 years disappear? At this moment, Tyr did not feel the joy brought by victory, as if he was shrouded in an abyss, and his eyes were full of tears. With a flick of his arm, Shanks was knocked back by Tyr. Shanks now feels that his body is extremely heavy even when he stands up, but he is still resisting. Uda is my daughter. Exhausted, Shanks swung the sword again, and the blade was about to disappear in his hand. This time, Tyr directly reached out and pinched Shanks' sword blade, and used the force to make the domineering force on it completely disappear. Because all his domineering power was about to be exhausted, he knelt on the ground and gasped in embarrassment. It seems that the power of resistance is gone. Haha, Uda. Tyr stretched out his hand toward the sky and took a deep breath. On the Visalia Sky Island, Uda, who was imprisoned by Tel, came directly to Tel and floated in the air from the air above 10,000 meters. The moment Shanks saw Uda, the cells on his face trembled slightly and he said, Uda. Shanks, you're lying. What's going on? Uda was not abused by Tyr. The whole body still maintains the same outfit from the concert. Advertisement. She couldn't believe it, seeing Shanks like this. You haven't experienced the ultimate pain of losing your partner, Redhead. Tyr let go of Uda and pushed her to Shanks. Don't you really want to kill him? I'll give you this chance. Uda looked at several familiar corpses around him, as well as Pluton Rayleigh, who was still alive and breathing with only half his body left. Looking back at the topless Tyr, the terrifying scar made her tremble all over. Everyone, Tel, who was watching Uda's emotions, felt the despair and fear that she couldn't stop. Even though she was abandoned by the red-haired pirates and lived alone in Erigia for more than 10 years, she could not take action against this group. But in words, he hates this group of people extremely, but in actual actions, he still regards himself as a member of the red-haired pirates. Several lieutenants rushed from the Nozomi Coast Force to where Tel was, and there were about 100 surviving marine soldiers gathered around them. Teal Steers, who was covered in scars, carried the body of Snake, the double-sword swordsman of the red-haired pirate group, to Tyr. Pluton knelt down on the verge of death. The red-haired four emperors were exhausted and embarrassed, making him re-examine his name for Tyr. Mr. Sword God General. We have won. The soldiers were exhausted, and they all fell to the ground the moment they saw Tel. Leaning on the tree trunk, he watched Tyr's final judgment on the red-haired man. Can't you do it? Tel asked Uda. Uda turned around and looked at Tyr with tears on his face. I can't do it. Kill me, Uda, so that you can. Shanks looked at Uda and said to her with a fatherly look on his face. Don't get me wrong, Tyr interrupted Shanks directly. Then he reached out and sucked Uda in front of him. I didn't intend for you to be so cozy, redhead. What do you want to do? Don't you just want my life? Uda is not a pirate. I'm so worried about her. If I let her reward so many soldiers in front of your eyes, I can't imagine what your expression would be like. You're a marine. Shanks, who could no longer fight, was very worried because he knew that Tyr really dared to do this. Marine? That's right, is Marine so bottomless? Tyr was speechless to the extreme after listening to Shanks' words. He stretched out his hand to signal all the other soldiers to come closer, and then summoned two red swords from the air to pin Shanks to the tree trunk. For people like you, only actual actions can relieve the pain in my heart by letting you watch your loved ones being treated inhumanely, Tel said. Walked behind Uda and took off her top in front of Shanks. Mr. General, what are your plans? Advertisement. The soldiers were confused. Uda sat in the middle of the blood-stained grass, slumped on the ground and looking around in despair. What are you going to do? Uda asked Tyr. Let go of Uda, aren't you targeting me? Shanks roared, unable to break free. He felt the most desperate and powerless moment in his life. His daughter was right in front of him, but he couldn't reach out to touch her. If you let her do that kind of thing here with hundreds of soldiers, red hair, what expression will you show? Tel pretended to red hair. The soldiers swallowed, with serious expressions, and did not want to do such an immoral thing. They also knew that Tyr would not let them do such a thing. As soon as these words came out, the red-haired man felt that he was even more of a pirate than a pirate. He roared and hissed, looking at Uda, who was naked and clutching his chest, trying to break away from Tyr's sword. For someone like you who doesn't care what happens to you, attacking your relatives is the biggest blow to you. In Shanks' extreme anger, he burst out the last bit of conquerors in his body, knocking everyone around him unconscious. He himself hung from the tree like a dead dog. Is this your limit? Let him go. I can do whatever you want. How about giving you the identity of a celestial dragon? It is no coincidence that red hair can become the four emperors and have such huge power in the new world. Just as Tyr originally determined, everything in this world revolves around things like bloodline and will. What are you going to do to me? Uda covered her breasts and saw Tyr walking up to her and looking at her whole body meticulously. I really want to play you to death in front of the red hair, and then let you degrade like a dog and kill him with my own hands. Don't want. Lifting Uda's body with one hand, Tyr walked to the dying red-haired man. The redhead who had used too much domineering energy could no longer survive. His health and lifespan were severely overdrawn. What about my proposal, you selfish and pretentious scum? Tyr said to the red-haired man. Kill me and end all this. Your current death can no longer satisfy my hatred for you. Your death is worthless. Even so, Tyr was still in front of Uda the next moment. A sword penetrated the red-haired man's forehead, ending the years-long pain. Because there are still 4 emperors waiting for him to destroy, and Tyr's soldiers are also fighting on the front line. Now is not the time for such a thing. The topless Uda was also sent back to Visalia Sky Island by Tel. Chapter 177 Wano Country, the next battlefield. Once Shanks himself died, all the subordinate forces who owned his lifecard watched the lifecard turn into ashes and disappear into the air. Tyr, who sent Uda back to Sky Island, walked up to Rayleigh. He reached out and gently patted his fleshless right cheek and said, Once you die, the fate of the Roger pirates will be over. Maybe. Rayleigh smiled. After you wait 100 years, a new will sprout again. 100 years later, Tyr shook his head at him, and a long sword condensed in his palm. Even if the world government is guilty, it won't be you pirates who will judge them in the end. Can I come and see Rayleigh off for the last time? Hancock, who had been hiding for a long time, walked out from behind a big tree. Tyr looked back at her and withdrew the sword that had been used to execute Rayleigh. Okay, after all, she saved your life. Tyr let go of Rayleigh, found a medical kit, and then walked to sit under a tree. He leaned his head up and rested under the tree. There's really no way to escape the human touch. The reason why these emotions still surround Tyr's mood. Tyr looked at the hazy world in front of him with his eyes, and his expression became gloomy. Tyr, who thought that killing his red hair would restore his color, didn't know what was going on. Aside. Under Hancock's embrace, Rayleigh's body gradually became stiff. Starting from the feet to stone. Hancock gave him the gentlest way to die and thanked him for saving his life from the celestial dragons. Rest in peace, Rayleigh, your time is over. Hancock, you have grown up. Rayleigh said the last sentence. He smiled happily and accepted his final outcome. Either way, failure of the plan equals death. The moment he and Shanks proposed to unite the kingdom of Elbaf and come to kill Tyr. He already had this realization. What do you mean? Hancock was a little confused about Rayleigh's last words before she died. But I can no longer get the answer to my confusion. Because, Rayleigh's body has been completely petrified by her and turned into a petrified statue. Lieutenant General Steers, please take pictures of all their deaths. This will serve as the headline of the Battle of Wano. Advertisement. Because of the red hair's last domineering attitude, Steers was still kneeling on one knee with his hands in front of him to resist. What a terrifying conquerors. The horror in Steers's heart was indescribable. Together with other lieutenant generals who were still able to move, they filmed the miserable state of the nearby red-haired pirates. Tyr summoned first-generation Kitetsu and Whale to float behind him. He stood up slowly, touched his pants, and took out a phone the size of a bamboo tube to make a call. It is exclusively for Lien Shi Chisha. The caller dialed for about a few minutes, and Taylor's expression became serious. In the past, Chisha was always quick to answer phone calls, which made him a little worried. What's going on? Did you encounter any difficulties? Dower, I leave this area to you to take care of. I have to go and kill the giants in Elbaf. After saying that, Tyr quickly ran towards the area where the Green Bull was. After a while, he saw the Green Bull that turned into a giant tree man, fighting in a bloody battle with Loki. You feel sorry for your people, right? Green Bull panted heavily and taunted Loki. You Green B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** It was only when Tyr arrived at the scene that he discovered what it means to overcome strength with softness. Countless vines were used as tools to consume Loki's physical strength, making it impossible for the king of the giant kingdom to cope with it. Tyr stood behind Loki on the forest floor, holding the handle of the screaming knife tightly with both hands, inserting the tip of the knife into the ground and dragging out sparks towards Loki's huge body. It's time to end, giants. The sword energy flow lingered around the blade, splitting the earth. Tyr jumped out towards the back of Loki's neck, unleashing his full power to sneak attack him from behind. What is this strong murderous aura? Loki looked back in panic and found that Tyr's tiny body had appeared on his back. Shave. Bang. The air was blasted by Tyr, and he used it as propulsion force to quickly slash towards Loki's neck. Well done, Tyr. This guy's physical strength has been drained by me, so kill him quickly. The dragon ascends to heaven. The flames on the blade in Tyr's hand instantly expanded 100 times, showing a huge dragon body and slashing at Loki's neck. The sword energy dragon's body swayed wildly, forming a curve and stabbing into Loki's back. Ah! Loki screamed, shaking the green bull in front of him and trying to turn around. Instantly, he found that the body of Green Bull's Treeman had doubled in size. Advertisement. Drink. Green Bull fully exploded his sense and fruit power, condensing all the power in the surrounding forest to fully suppress Loki. Just to create a chance for Tyr to kill Loki. You ignorant Elbaf giants, don't underestimate the power of General Marine. Get away, you annoying rotten tree. Feeling his back being cut deeper and deeper by Tyr, Loki burst out with despair on his face. Where's the red hair? Damn it. He quickly took a look at the surrounding environment. The giant warriors he brought were like a bunch of frustrated dolls, with only one piece of human skin left to be sucked dry by the green bull. The picture is very scary. Already dead. Impossible. How can a guy like you, Tyr stabbed upward with force, and the blade scratched his back and neck. Anyone with an arrogant and conceited character will pay the price for it. Loki couldn't believe it when he saw that the blade had already scratched his neck and headed directly towards his skull. In the end, he died in the hands of a villain with a knife. I still have a country. The moment Loki said these words, a dragon-shaped sword energy and sword light shot into the sky from the back of his head. A dragon roar shook the sky. Loki's body split from his head into two halves, and he fell straight into the huge forest. The green bull that turned into several people lost its treeman form and turned into its main body about 3 meters tall. Damn it. This guy almost consumed me to death. Green Bull complained with blood dripping from his head. Then he kicked Loki's fallen body. Damn guy, where did you get such terrifying power, damn giant? In order to stop the giant army brought by Loki, the Green Bull almost exhausted his power. Can we still fight? Taylor asked as he picked up a marine duckbill hat on the ground and put it on his head. How's the battle going over there, Tyr? Where's the redhead and Pluton Rayleigh? Died. What? Green Bull looked shocked, observing the scars on Tyr's body. It seems he paid a heavy price. The Green Bull thought to himself as he looked at Tyr's body. If he had been injured by Tyr, he would have been unable to move. Let's go if we can fight. There is another battle waiting for us. Tyr walked toward the flower capital and said to Green Bull. By the way, Tyr, you have 3 types of abilities. Now Paramecia and Phantom Beast types have been awakened, right? Chapter 178. In the country of Wano, Shisha's life is in danger. The Green Bull and Tyr moved forward side by side, leading to the next battlefield. That's right. Then you have another one, right? For example, the elemental Logia? Why are you asking this? No, I want to know, have you awakened? A smile appeared on Tyr's lips, but he didn't respond much. After the battle with Shanks and Rayleigh, his body was frantically absorbing the growth brought about by the battle. Hey, you should tell me so that I can know better, you be *************************************** D. The red-haired pirates have fallen. After the battle in Wano is over, they will go to the sea to clean up the pirates who were loyal to him. Don't change the subject. Tyr's sword energy belongs to a different species, which is already abnormal enough. So it cannot be awakened. In the Nozomi area, the fierce battle to intercept the red-haired pirates ended. The Green Bull wearing a cloak of justice followed the shirtless tail into the flower capital. And Hancock, who had executed Rayleigh, was right behind Tyr. The streets are full of soldiers transporting supplies. Don't the citizens of Wano dare to come out? General Green Ox. General Sword God. You. What's going on? Impossible. Who can let you get hurt? The soldiers who were carrying supplies to the front line greeted them when they saw them. The soldiers who were crossed by Tyr even felt the pressure of being unable to breathe. The busiest thing about logistics is not the transportation of materials, but the continuous flow of a large number of casualty soldiers from the front line to the rear. It can be seen how tragic the fighting situation on the front line is. Most of the soldiers were Spartan warriors from the Sword God Island of Tyr, and they rushed to the front with almost no fear of death. Where is Major General Chisha? Tell asked. She went to fight on the front line. It is said that she met the Linkong 6 sons of the Beast Pirates. Sword God General, all the 6 Linkong disciples are here. That woman. Tell felt bad and rushed directly to the frontline battlefield of Wano country. Hey, I haven't recovered from my injuries yet, then you stay at the rear, Taylor shouted to him as he ran away. Not noticing Fujitora's smile in the flower capital, Tyr concluded that he should be fighting on the front line himself. To deal with the 4 emperors, Tyr currently needs a general-level combat force, otherwise it will be a difficult battle. Wait a minute. Hancock followed closely, unwilling to be separated from Teal. Linghao Township. Advertisement. The ghost spider, who was fighting Asura Boy alone, was startled when he saw Ty's figure running towards the front line. Before he could speak, Tyr was the first to ask from a distance, where are the other lieutenant generals, Ghost Spider? The decisive battle will take place at the White Dance Tobu Port. Looking at the bruised and bloody Asura Boy in front of Ghost Spider, Tyr also recognized Ghost Spider's strength. He is the Grand Master of the 6th form of Marine. He is extremely skilled in using the 6th form in combat, and his strength cannot be underestimated. Although his style is very cruel, he will not let go of his subordinates who disobey orders. There is no denying that he is an iron-blooded Marine Lieutenant General. After you take care of him, establish a base in this area. Slow down. Hancock stopped pursuing Teal and took a break, then continued to follow Teal to the White Dance area of Wano country. The coastal area is full of densely packed Marine soldiers fighting. Amidst the hail of bullets, Tel found that the Lieutenant General and the soldiers were at a disadvantage. Arriving at the front line, Tyr found that Jack and Quinn, 2 of the 3 calamities of the Beast Pirates, were among them. It also includes the decisive battle between the Big Mom Pirates and almost all the combat forces at Tobu Port in the Hyakutake area. Kaido and Linlin's chief generals, Jin and Katakuri of the Lunaria clan, were sent to the Rabbit Mine to fight against Gion Momoshagi. Smoker, Dasky, Zoro and others were transferred to the mine passing by as support. Boom! A fierce impact and wind wave spread in front of Tyr, and the soldiers were blown away by the wind and waves. Huo Shaoshan is fighting former CP9 genius Foz Fu with a samurai sword. I remember who you are. Huo Shaoshan looked at Fozzie Fu and recalled. Ah, he is the genius who betrayed the government and is as famous as Rob Lukey. It seems that he was forced to join the pirate camp again because of the government's pursuit? Whatever you say, Huo Shaoshan, if you bring so many troops to attack the 4 emperors, the outcome will only be defeat. That's not necessarily the case. Teal and Hancock joined in the conflict with a knife in hand. The morale of the soldiers was once high due to the arrival of Tel. Huh? Yishao, who was fighting with Jack and Quinn, turned his head in the direction of Tyr. It seems that the trouble in the north has been eliminated. What is the power of this blind man? He actually blocked the attacks of me and brother Quinn with one hand. The gravity of the staff sword was activated, and Quinn broke away immediately when he realized something was wrong. Three-way Jack, who turned into a mammoth, was controlled by Fujitori's gravity. It's really tricky, beast pirates. Fragrant feet. Hancock danced on the battlefield and found Tyr standing in front of a body covered by a cloak of justice. What are you doing? This is the center of the battlefield. Don't be in a daze. That's it. She discovered that the motionless person lying in front of Tyr was the dying Sisha. Chisha was defeated by the Black Maria among the 6 volleys, and the saber in her hand was broken. Advertisement, haha. Just as Tyr was looking at the dying Chisha in a daze with a frozen face, a woman with an upper body that looked like a human and a lower body that looked like a spider came behind him. It is Black Maria, one of the 6 members of the Whitehead Pirates. With cyan eyes, long blonde hair, wearing a kimono and smoking a cigarette, he looked at Tyr. Brother Marine, you seem to feel sorry for her? Black Maria had a little sympathy for Chisha, who had defeated her with her own hands, and stood beside Tyr without noticing Tyr's identity. Don't be heartbroken. How about you become my male slave when this battle is over? It's quite cute to look at, and it's already very satisfying to torture. Tyr, who instantly activated the sword god's hand, slapped Chisha's chest with a palm to inject strength. Listening to Black Maria's words, Tyr ignored her and focused on Chisha's injury. The injuries were too serious and he couldn't survive. Drink. Drink. Taylor took off the recovery potion he had concocted from his waist and fed it into her mouth. I'm sorry. I broke the promise. I'll give you 10 more babies in my next life. Chisha felt that she could not survive, and after she put down her last words, there was no movement. Holding her limp body, Tyr suddenly yelled at her. No, weren't you asked to command from the rear? Your abilities are not suitable for being on the front line. Tyr protected her body with sword energy and flew to the Visalia Sky Island. What kind of power is that? Black Maria was startled and saw Chisha's body flying quickly towards the sky. Get away from that dangerous man, Black Maria. Charlotte Maunder of the Big Mom Pirates shouted to her, looking very scared. As the chief civilian officer of the Big Mom Pirates, he knows every move on the sea. Why? He is the general of the Marine headquarters, the one who launched this war against us. Ah? Black Maria was completely shocked, frowning and looking at Tyr. Just you? Marine General? Except for Tyr, she didn't think Tyr had any powerful power. Humph, I don't. She became interested in Tyr, who looked unusually calm. Tail Naginata turned and looked up at her. You have such a big body, and the scars all over your body are so horrific. I really wonder what you, a man, have gone through. A mist emitted around Black Maria, gradually covering the surrounding area and swallowing Tyr. You are Marine General at such a young age? Who would believe that even a general would not have much combat effectiveness after suffering such a serious injury? Let me see what you've been through. She activated her power to create reincarnation and phantom fog to surround Tyr. At the last moment, Tal, who was expressionless, said in a deep voice. How on earth are you trying to trick me, Destiny? Chapter 179 In Wano Country, the sleeping madman wakes up. Through the world in Tyr's heart, Black Maria stood in a town ablaze with flames. In reality, she cannot achieve true reincarnation, but she can do it through her own fruit ability. This is both an illusion in the world in Tyr's heart. It was dark, without any Madara colors, and the whole world looked dark. A quick look at Tyr's experience makes Black Maria very emotionally unstable. This is, in the fantasy, she walked to a mountain of corpses and looked at Tyr, whose body was surrounded by blood. It was 3 years ago that Tyr committed a massacre that shocked the world. The army collapsed and the people lost their lives. Only Tyr was left sitting on the mountain of corpses, his red eyes searching for the creatures of this country. Corpses piled up into mountains, and the streets and plains were filled with blood and corpses flowing into the sea. In the illusion on the other side, Tyr saw 2 familiar people with an expressionless face. In the familiar house, the light of the oil lamp flickered. Appearing around him were the 2 most important people in the world he had traveled to. One helped him survive 4 years without worrying about food and clothing, and the other helped him grow. What's wrong? Don't you recognize me, you brat? You are already dead, Karina, Tyr said to Lang Lang. The attention in his eyes was not on her, but he was vaguely alert to the breath of life in the outside world. The sword energy poured into Chisha's body frantically stitched together her damaged cells and nerves. Tyr tries to save her. Suddenly, a woman carrying food walked out of the kitchen. She has light and elegant pink hair, which is as soft as silk and the color is like elegant cherry blossoms. What are you talking about? With a gentle smile on her face, she put the meal on the table. You died too, Tiffany, in that big explosion. The straightforward and calm Ty didn't want to act with them. However, he still walked towards Tiffany and held her in his arms. She was transformed from Tiffany, who was possessed by Black Maria to control the image in Tyr's mind. Emotions, thoughts, and senses are also completely controlled by Black Maria, who wants to keep Tyr trapped in this gentle land and be controlled by her. Advertisement, are you too tired, Taylor? Are you sick? Do you want me to make you some medicinal soup to replenish your health? Seeing Tyr suddenly hugging her, Tiffany asked with an embarrassed smile. What's going on with this guy? He was so cold-blooded just now, and suddenly he saw this woman acting so affectionate. Such a hug released all Tyr's negative emotions, making Black Maria feel incredible. How much does Tyr love this woman? Then, a sharp black knife penetrated Tiffany's body, shocking Black Maria, who activated her ability. What the hell is going on with you? Ignoring Black Maria's surprise, Tyr held Tiffany until she completely turned into mist and dissipated. The world returned to reality, and Black Maria, in her human spider form, was so frightened that she backed away. I really can't figure out what kind of person Taylor is. You can do anything to the one you love, what's wrong with you? Tyr reached out his hand and slapped the ground suddenly, launching a desperate move without any warning. All thoughts are in despair. Boom. Countless huge sword blades rushed out of the ground like thorns in the ground, covering the entire battlefield in an instant. Most of the officers and members of the Beast's pirates and the Big Mom pirates didn't even react before they were stabbed with sharp swords all over their bodies from their lower bodies to their brains. Time seemed to be frozen at this moment, and everyone was shocked. The war turned into a one-sided massacre, and tens of thousands of people died in an instant. This time, the sword energy released was stronger and more intense than any time before. The soldiers under the 2-4 Emperor's pirate group screamed, and their bodies were penetrated by the sword energy under Tyr's. All thoughts are disappointed. Move. Blood stained the entire ground red. Their eyes stared blankly at the sky, as if they were complaining about how there could be a lunatic like Tyr in this world. You monster. Black Maria's whole body was clamped by the sword energy, and she did not dare to move, staring at Tyr, who was walking towards her. I kill people instantly. I never want to torture. You are an exception. He pinched Black Maria's huge spider legs with one palm and used brute force to remove them directly from her. Ah! Black Maria felt the pain, and her miserable cry spread in the air. 1, 2, until all her spider legs were broken, and Tyr stood in front of her and stared at her coldly. The 8-meter-long huge body collapsed to the ground. Black Maria, who had returned to human form, had legs bleeding and collapsed on the ground. Advertisement boom. Taylor punched him, breaking her bones one by one, showing no mercy. Quinn looked at the corpses scattered all around him, and then looked at the picture of Black Maria being beaten with murderous intent. What did you do? Your opponent is me. Fujitora activated his abilities with a smile, and kept Jack and Quinn intercepted. Damn it. How did a blind man get such strength? Who are you? He's just a righteous gambler. The strongest combat power of the 3 disasters and the 3 generals went to stop Gion Momoshiki. Tyr's despairing move killed most of the 2 groups in an instant, making it difficult to guard against them. Except for the powerful animal-type cadres of the Beast's pirates who survived, all members of the Big Mom pirates were killed by swords almost instantly. There was only a cracker with a broken arm, looking around in panic and covering his left arm. What kind of monster is that guy? He suddenly shouted in despair. Why don't we just be arrested? What a big deal. All the brothers and sisters of the Big Mom pirates were pierced to death by swords, which made him extremely afraid of Tyr's behavior at this moment. The incompetent and furious cracker no longer had any will to fight. He knelt on the ground and watched in the distance as Tyr kept waving his hands towards Black Maria's body. How can there be a lunatic like you in the world? Marine soldiers, fishmen warriors, Spartan gladiators, fur tribesmen, and Wano samurai all stood there stunned. The lieutenant general who was fighting against the white-headed pirates Gonling 6 also stopped. This scene is like pushing through those big holes in the city. Is that how it came about? Kill you. Every punch from Tyr contained strong power, turning every soft skin on Black Maria's body purple. There were bruises all over her body. Let me go. Save me, Shaorun. 3 of the 6 Lincoln men relied on their domineering aura and strong physical fitness to withstand Tyr's move. Peggy Wan and Sasaki were killed instantly. The huge stabbing blade that killed them did not disappear, but rushed out of the ground and flew into the sky to wait for orders. Fate has played a trick on me. No matter the government, no matter the 4 emperors, I will kill all of you. Seeing Black Maria being crazily beaten by Tyr, Runti was unable to take action at all. I can't move my body. Black Maria, who was beaten unconscious and bloody by Tyr with his bare hands, never expected this. However, he almost beat a female marine officer to death, but awakened a madman who had been sleeping for a long time. Chapter 180 Wano Country, the eve of the final battle. The blood dyed the harbor red, and the dead Baiwu battlefield became active again. The soldiers joined forces with the lieutenant general to deal with the surviving Feilu cells, surrounding them and consuming their energy, killing them one by one. Things got a little out of hand. Guernica is not the only CP0 who secretly inquires about the war situation in Wano. After his death, all CP0 elite agents came under the command of Rob Lukey. How's the battle going? Almost all the fighting power of the 4 emperors were killed by that guy instantly. Even a cold-blooded and ruthless agent like Rob Lukey was horrified by everything Tyr did in front of him. What? Now there are only 3 disasters left on the White Dance battlefield in Wano. Quinn, Jack, the Flying 6 Cells, and Cracker, who has broken his arm. He reported the information to the 5 elders truthfully, and behind him stood a group of elite agents on standby. Is that terrible move going to be launched again? A square-long nose looked at the sword blade in the sky. It is gradually covering the sky above Wano country. Do we really want to continue the mission? Khalifa, wearing fishnet stockings and a sexy figure, asked Lu Chi. The mission will definitely not be carried out. Rob Lukey stared at Tyr, who was beating Black Maria in the distance, with a serious face. I saw Tyr's hands covered with blood and he slowly stood up. No one wants to mess with a madman who wakes up from his slumber. We are not fools. The 5 elders who heard this through the phone bug also sighed and said, at least record all the battle reports of Wano country, Rob Lukey. Learn. As for the sneak attack on Tyr, they plan to give Tyr some compensation in the future, and the Figaland clan of the Draconians will also want to make excuses. Red Hair's death must also be explained clearly to the Celestial Dragon family. Your fate. Tyr looked at the dying Black Maria in front of him. There was no intact skin on her body. It's going to end here. Lord Kaido. The dying Black Maria muttered the name of the person she liked, and found that Tyr had disappeared from her body. Tyr disappeared from the spot like a swift shadow and immediately looked for the next target to kill. In his sight, he did not stop the battle between Doberman and Cracker and the battle between Volcano and Fozifu. Advertisement instead, the target was one of the Flying 6 Cells who was kneeling and was pierced by the sword and killed instantly. On Runty's body in front of Peggy Wan. Xiao Pei. She knelt in front of her brother and looked up when she felt the danger. When she found Tell appearing in front of her, she slashed down with a knife. The sword energy slashed through Runty's chest, and blood spurted into the air instantly. Ahem. I surrender. Surrender. Runty stood up and covered her chest. Given. Bang. Tail slapped her with a palm, poured the sword energy into her body and instantly exploded in her body, taking over all control of her body. At this moment, he didn't even have the most basic sense of compassion. He directly grabbed Runty's collar, and his pupils instantly became like a demon controlling her mind. No, don't. Runty struggled with fear all over her body, feeling that her consciousness was being taken away bit by bit. Until he completely turned into a puppet, standing behind Tyr blankly. Tyr handed Whale into her hand and gave her an order to sneak attack Kaido and Big Mom. With a smile, end the battle quickly, and the rest will go to support the Tuden mine. Obey. Obey. More than 100,000 troops began to move on a large scale, and they also knew that the next battle was not something they could participate in. After giving the battle order, Tyr walked to Daowu Port and looked at the huge Ghost Head Island in front of him. Gravity Knife Tiger. Boom. The gravity slash behind him distorted the space. Fujitora received Ty's order not to delay, and with one strike, the tiger destroyed the huge bodies of the 2 ancient species of animal-type ability users. The terrifying impact of the move knocked Jack into the air. Damn it, Brother Quinn, I'm sorry. Looking at the mammoth falling into the water in front of him, Tyr had no expression at all. Let this guy come, I want to do something for you, Tyr, Hancock said. So. Defeating Fujitora, who killed one of the 3 disasters instantly with one sword, holding the staff sword. I'll leave it to you, Pirate Empress. Advertisement. I still have scientific weapons that I haven't used yet. You damn guy. Quinn looked like a mechanical brachiosaurus and cursed at Tyr. The next second, he was affected by Hank Ku's ability and looked at the stunning beauty walking towards him. A honey trap. Damn it. It doesn't work. Really? Feeling the lust rising in Quinn's heart, Hancock shook his flowing black hair. That. Of course. This is a battlefield. Who would be tempted by a beautiful woman? Quinn slapped herself. Trying to wake up from his obsession with Hancock, he felt something was wrong. Exuding a deadly alluring aura, he covered his small mouth with his hand and looked aggrieved. But I want you to be petrified. Under the manipulation of Hancock, who pretended to be weak, Quinn, who was already lustful, could not resist Hancock's temptation at all, and his eyes turned into heart-shaped ones. Instantly suffered the petrification of sweet fruits. Seeing Quinn being petrified by himself, Hancock pointed at his petrified body with a cold expression and said confidently, "No one in this world can resist my beauty." Fujitora walked up behind Tyr, put away the blade and said seriously, "If I had known that the battle could be ended without fighting, I should have called the Pirate Empress to the front line." He felt the aura on Tyr's body at this moment through the color of his sight. Black occupied 90% of Tyr's body. The remaining 10% of white is his only remaining sanity. He didn't even expect that Tyr would end the battle in the Baiwu war zone in this way. Here comes the sword. Tyr aimed his arm at the sky and released the terrifying sword energy to rush into the clouds. Thousands of sword blades began to condense and overlap, turning into Tyr's power hovering in the air. He waved his arm towards Onigashima, and all the sword blades in the sky moved towards Onigashima. The darkness was overwhelming and intimidating. The final battle has begun. No one dared to stand up and say anything wrong about Tyr's cruel act of killing tens of thousands of people in an instant. Just before Tyr was about to set off, a group of warriors suddenly rushed towards Tyr's back with swords and carried out a sneak attack. After enduring for several days and not taking action at this moment, those warriors who swore to be loyal to Odin felt that they would never have a chance again. Damn it, we want to avenge Momonosuke-sama. Tyr pinched first-generation Kitetsu, looked back, and slashed at the samurai behind with all his strength. The terrifying sword energy swallowed them all instantly, and the surface of Baiwu in Wano country began to split and collapse on a large scale. If any samurai dares to do something like this again, I will raze your entire country of Wano to the ground.